Yo, 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 what's poppin', guys? How you guys doing? Welcome to the stream, the Caesar Penguin stream. How you guys doing? How you guys doing? Azrael, hi, welcome to the stream. Hi, Trash, how you doing? How you doing? How's it going? How's it going? How's everybody doing? How's everybody doing on this fine day? The loading thing right here. What is this? Oh, okay. There it is. Doing amazing with that amazing title. Yes, it finally came to pass. Danganronpa Zero finally came to pass. Believe it or not. It's here. It's here, finally. After quite some time, it's here. We're going to have an awesome read. We're going to have an awesome reading session. I can promise you that. Prepared something a little special, so it's not just me reading to you, and you just watch my very tiny lips move back and forth. I did see that. I saw your character. I just couldn't comment on it because I was driving, or I was about to drive home, but it looks so cool. The ultimate agent fits perfectly. I like it. I like it. It's such a cool character. You cooked once again, Ezra. Good job. Good job. So, we're going to start reading Danganronpa Zero today. Oh, but don't tell Twitch, because Twitch doesn't like reading, and I'll get banned. Please don't tell Twitch. All right. So nobody tell Twitch. Nobody tell Twitch, because I will not exist much longer if you do. So what's reading exactly? Reading? I think what I'm doing is called storytelling, which is something entirely different. You know. Nobody tell Twitch. But today, let me put some ground rules first. So, in terms of chat, I won't be reading chat as I read through the book. So I'm going to be focused mainly on the book while I'm reading it. I will take pauses in between to read chat, like between chapters is what I'm trying to say. Between chapters, I'll take pauses to read chat. But other than that, while I'm reading the book, there will be no pauses in the chat. If anybody comes in mid stream while I'm reading, just let them know. I'm not trying to be mean to them. It's just I will only pause in between chapters. Sounds fair? Awesome. Next thing, I'll be reading. I think I can get through most of the volume. I think I'll get to like half volume 1 today. We'll see how far we get. But I'm pretty sure with the time we have allotted, I can probably get through at least half of volume 1. So we'll be getting through that. Please try to limit the amount of sound effects you use. Because I just don't want to get knocked out of the reading zone. I'm sure, y'all know what I'm talking about. But that's another ground rule. Just try to limit the amount of sound effects. Don't go spamming sound effects, please. Please and thank you. There will be music in the background. I don't think it'll be very loud, but it's just so you guys can hear a little something, so it's not just that. And the last and final one, just please have patience with us. This is our first time trying something like this, so there's bound to be a lot of scuff. We didn't have time to practice any of this as I would have liked, but we're gonna do our best. So please and thank you. Very scuffed. Yes, very. I would have loved to have like a day or two to practice, but work did not allow. So we will do our best. Hell yeah. finally getting through it, because after this it's after this is the anime that it's not going to be watched on Twitch, but we'll be watching it on Discord. But then after that it's V3. So very excited for that. Now, let me move over to the big game tab. Big game. And let me see. Spooderfy is here. Awesome. Let me just play music on Spotify and see how well it works. I don't think it's loud enough. There we go. Perfect. All right. Without further ado, let's get right into it. There, slides. Let me move them up like that. Perfect, perfect, perfect. The loading sign. Where's that loading sign coming from? Oh, I know. There it is. Nope. I tried. All right. Here we go. Danganronpa 0. Chapter 1. Ultimate Despair. Junko Inoshima despaired. Anything and everything ended up just the way she wanted. Everything turned out just as she had hoped. And so she despaired. Huh? Is it really that easy? Magma like heat boiled up from the pit of her stomach, gradually swelled inside her body, and exploded as it reached her chest. It spread from her heart and flowed through every muscle in her body. The sound of splashing water came from the muddy pool she stood in as droplets danced through the air. Upon closer examination, one could notice the water was red. As soon as her body stopped moving, the red droplets of water came raining down, making grotesque patterns on her clothes and skin. Her clothing dyed red with blood. Her hair dyed red with blood. Her face red with blood. Nevertheless, none of this caught her attention. Instead, she started stomping her foot impatiently. It was a magnificent stomp. She put every bit of strength, body, and soul she had into her entire existence. And then, after stomping for a while, Junko Inoshima let out an annoyed yell, as fierce as the roar of a demonic, rampaging beast. "It's not enough!" Her scream echoed through her surroundings, the noise exploding out as if it were a rock shattering into pieces. But she wasn't done. She continued to scream. More! More! I need even more despair-inducing despair! Despair-inducing despair. That was what she was after. She wanted not only for the world to despair, but for herself to be taken by despair as well. More! 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 A more despair-inducing despair! She stopped mid-thought. Something clicked inside her head, and she stopped moving. Her face froze in a surprised expression, and she stood petrified as if every muscle in her crimson-painted body stopped working. Then she let out a weak whisper. "Oh, I see." A series of gears and switches began moving deep inside her skull, sparking pitch-black thoughts. A series of faces floated up inside her mind. They were faces she knew, of course. The faces of classmates at Hope's Peak Academy. Pooh-hoo-hoo! A tremble shook through her body and lips carved into a smile. She smashed her foot into the earth once again as she cackled and shook. Pooh-hoo-hoo-hoo! Her frenzied stomping became like a dance. Joy and excitement radiated through her as she moved, and she found that she couldn't stop herself. "Oh, it's wonderful, so incredibly wonderful." And the faces of the people destined to bring her so much wonderful despair kept floating inside her mind. Her heart overflowed with a strange feeling that almost felt like love, and she danced to the rhythm of despair. "Oh, it's so wonderful. It's going to be magnificent for this despair." Laughing ecstatically, Ultimate Despair Junko Inoshima continued dancing. She danced as if she were losing her mind. This was the beginning of a story that ends in despair. And that is the end of chapter 1. Let me drink some water real quick. Yeah, chapters are short. Love my Junko voice. Thank you. I, for some reason, can't remember how it actually went. For some reason, right now, I'm just blanking on her actual voice, so I can't do her voice. I'll remember midway somehow. Somehow, some way. I'll remember. All right. Can you guys hear the music? Is everything good? All the ambiance good? Very good. Very good. Yes, my favorite. Box 15. Oh, hold on. I didn't mean to go to that one. All right. Chapter 2. Hope's Peak Academy. An exclusive government-sanctioned school accepting only students with exceptional abilities. Its stated goal is to raise the future hope of the nation, and for that reason, it became known as the Academy of Hope. It's a source of envy, as it's common knowledge that one can achieve great success in life just by being a Hope's Peak graduate, as most of its alumni are now employed in high positions in every field of the professional world. That statement is not an exaggeration. There are 2 requirements to becoming a Hope's Peak student. First, one must be currently enrolled in high school. Second, they must be the very best in their field of expertise. Hope's Peak doesn't hold any standard entrance exams, as the Academy insists that the things tested by these kinds of exams are meaningless. For its purposes, instead, students are scouted for by the Academy staff, who serve as both educators. Oh, sorry, lost myself there. And researchers of extraordinary human abilities. Some say Hope's Peak Academy faculty members are much like foster parents of talent, who have made it their life's mission to find and nurture talent in their children. But right now, every member of that extraordinary faculty, as well as the Academy itself, was facing an unprecedented, unparalleled crisis. Hope's Peak Academy faculty building is located in the school's East District, and is the only building on campus that students are forbidden to enter. The corridors of that building, usually bustling with teachers and staff, are now empty and engulfed in unnatural silence. The laboratories, the private rooms, and the luxurious personal offices had all been abandoned. Every man and woman who usually occupied these locations was currently gathered in a single place. Meeting Room 13. That's kind of fitting that Box 13 started playing when that happened. Here we are, Meeting Room 13. Hope's Peak Academy's largest meeting room is located on the top floor of the faculty building and has a maximum capacity of over 300. Nevertheless, with every single faculty member attending, it was fully packed. Not a single empty seat remained among the long tables lining the room. For such a huge crowd, however, the room was strangely quiet. Only a single person's voice could be heard, the voice of Hope's Peak Academy's headmaster, Jin Kirigiri. He faced the assembled faculty members from his position at the foremost table, and read from a printout he held in his hand. Without even a glimpse of emotion, he spoke in an unaffected tone of voice. The words printed on the paper came out of his mouth, as if he were nothing more than an automaton reading a script. As far as Kirigiri was concerned, that was his most important duty. He was to communicate the decision of all faculty members, no matter how little sense it seemed to make. He had no time for doubt or hesitation. If he had the time for that, he would have been attending to a number of other things. Are you telling us to cover it up? A voice suddenly echoed through the meeting room. Kirigiri raised his head and saw 300 people staring at him. intently waiting for a response. It wasn't a piercing stare nor one of judgment. It was far more uncomfortable than that. 300 people stared at him in discomfort, as if they were one entity. And from this, Kirigiri felt every hair on his body stand on end. He turned his head to the 4 people seated to his right, trying to escape the gaze. They were stationed at the same frontmost table that he was, their faces creased with wrinkles. Their eyes were closed, making those wrinkly faces even wrinklier. From Kirigiri's position, it almost looked like the 4 faces before him were one huge giant wrinkle. The expressions of the 4 members of Hope's Peak Academy's steering committee seemed to say they had already given up. An unintentional bitter smile appeared on Kirigiri's face. So, that's how it's gonna be. Oh well. It's not as if I expected anything else. With those feelings festering inside his heart, Kirigiri turned back toward the crowd, stared, and set the paper aside. From this point onward, he was going to use his own words. Let me make this perfectly clear, he emphasized. We reached this decision after putting a lot of thought into the matter. At the steering meeting that took place earlier today, he felt the temperature in the room grow tepid, perhaps from every faculty member's body having grown stiff in attention. Kirigiri sipped from the glass of water in his hand and continued. We understand, of course, how extremely irregular this decision is. The wrinkled faces that were there, as much a part of the we he had mentioned as himself, did not move an inch. It was as if they knew from the very beginning he was going to take the situation into his own hands. But make no mistake, we are not covering this tragedy up to escape responsibility. If I could end it all here now simply by taking responsibility, I would do so in a heartbeat. Unfortunately, this particular incident cannot be dealt with that easily. It wouldn't even matter if each and every one of us accepted responsibility. We're dealing with a problem that exists on an entirely different level. Kirigiri stopped for a moment and finished his glass of water in a single gulp, trying to remain calm. Don't get me wrong. I don't think we are completely blameless here. If we were that, parade out there wouldn't be happening right now. Kirigiri gestured toward the curtain window. Several people turned to look at it, a severe expression on their faces. The parade has been growing larger and larger lately. The people in it hate us, and I don't think they're wrong for doing so. Kirigiri paused and moved his gaze across the room, looking at each of the faculty members' faces, as if he were about to say, was personally directed to every one of them, individually. That said, I refuse to believe Hope's Peak Academy's thesis that talent itself is humanity's first and foremost hope is wrong. You must realize that if information about this incident leaves the walls of this school, we are likely to lose it all. As far as I'm concerned, that would be an enormous loss for mankind. Every one of our successful graduates I've spoken to feels the same way. At the mention of the Hope's Peak alumni, the crowd stirred a little. And that is why the members of Hope's Peak Academy's steering committee and myself have come to the conclusion that this incident should not be made public. Kirigiri let his gaze wander to the old men once more, but they remained still. Their expressionless silence made it seem as though none of this concerned them. As I said before, I know more than anyone how irregular this decision is. Nevertheless, we have a duty, both as educators and as researchers, to protect talent. Should human ability, such as a kind found in this institution, become the target of public hostility, it would be an absolute catastrophe. Furthermore, there is one more thing I want you all to remember. The 300 faculty members waited in attention for Kirigiri's next words. The crimes committed may be terrible, But it doesn't change the fact that this student carries a very special brand of hope that we raised ourselves. The look in the faculty's eyes changed in an instant. No one so much as uttered a word. Everyone sat in complete silence. No one objected. No one could object. His words were narrow-minded, but they reflected the opinions of everyone in the room. They were all acting both as educators and as scientists, researching human talent. And just like any other scientists, becoming obsessed with their area of research, the staff of Hope's Peak Academy were obsessed with talent. Anyone who did not share that obsession did not belong at Hope's Peak. And that is why they listened to Kirigiri's words and made their decision. For the idea they believed in, for the future they believed in, and for the hope they believed in, they would do their best to conceal the tragedy of Hope's Peak Academy. End of chapter 2. Now let me grab some water there. Spicy, what's going on, I wonder? Intriguing, what's going on? I'm gonna take a quick break. Yeah, we finally got to meet Jin. That was pretty interesting. No. That's the chair. That's the chair. My chair is still being creaky. That wasn't my back. That was a chair. That was a chair. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Wasn't a squeak. That was a pop. I don't know what you're talking about. My chair makes popping noises, I'll have you know. I need a new chair. I'm done with this chair. I'm so done with this chair. I hate it. Ever since I bought it, it was a mistake. It was a mistake to buy this chair. I should have known. Aha, just concerned for the safety of my back. Calling me old, are you? I remember this. Oh, by the way, before I forget. Hold on, let me change into something a little more appropriate. No, that's not it. There we go. Much better. Alright, okay. I believe you, Azrael. I believe you. There we go. Look at that. Much better now. Got the Monokuma fit on. And drink some more water before we start the next chapter. All right, here we go. Let me get into position real quick. Next chapter. By the way, before I start the next chapter, can we get W's in the chat for the mods? They are working overtime today. The only reason this is possible is thanks to the mods, so please, W's in the chat for the mods. They're doing overtime today. It's great. This would not be possible without them. Can feel the gray hairs forming. All right, here we go. Next chapter. W mods. They do so much. Next chapter. Chapter 3. A yellow cat peeked out from the thicket behind the pavement. Slowly, it stepped out of the swaying grass and into the road, waving its long tail as it turned its eyes expectantly toward me. But its expression soon turned to alertness, and then to fear. The cat, having seen me skipping merrily down the road toward it, must have thought I was about to trample it, and so escaped back into the bushes in panic. But I didn't care at all. Sun shining down on me, wind fluttering my skirt, I continued my joyful skip onward and down the road. I was in Hope's Peak Academy's East District, near the courtyard, where many newly built facilities, as well as several still under construction, were lined up around me. As I made my way down the... That's not Danganronpa. As I made my way down the path between the buildings, my skips, like stitchwork between them, took no special notice of the dirty path. Oh, hold on, give me 1 second. Let me fix the music real quick. Okay, let me find where I was. So sorry. Okay. Let me see. There we go. Sometimes that happens. There we are. Just gotta exit and re-enter. There I was. Okay. As I made my way down the path between the buildings, my skips, like stitchwork between them, I took no special notice of any dirty cats or of the classmates I passed who were studying and fraternizing all around me, nor did I derive any happiness from the light touch of the sun after a long while indoors. No, I skipped down the road with nothing but destination on my mind. Not that I'm the kind of girl who'd go skipping around thoughtlessly. I had a very good reason. I'm gonna meet that boy that I like more than anyone in the world. The reason may or may not have been a good one, but either way, no student in their right mind wouldn't go skipping down the road of such a prestigious school's campus as Hope's Peak Academy. So it wasn't surprising that the other students who happened to walk by looked at me oddly, but that really had nothing to do with me. Nothing in the world could stop my skipping. Not a crying girl, or a lover's quarrel, or a student in a wheelchair that had come to a standstill. Not even an anemic student who had fallen down. One thought alone moved my body. I want to see the one I love, and I want to see him soon. I skipped down the paths and up the steps, not caring in the least how much my skirt flapped as I made my way to the courtyard. Continuing down the road, I suddenly came to a stop. Where is it that I'm going? I looked around in confusion and realized I didn't recognize any of the landmarks around me. My heart started thumping loudly. No, everything's fine. I calmed myself down and removed a notebook from my backpack I was carrying. On the last page of the notebook, the following sentence was written. You're looking for the Neuroscience Institute on the 3rd floor of the biology building in Hope's Peak Academy's East District. A cool wind of relief passed through my body. Yeah, that's right. The biology building. Where's the biology building anyway? My heart began thumping heavily once more. Everything's fine, no need to worry. I hurriedly flipped through my notebook, as if acting on instinct, and my eyes stopped on a page with a crude drawing of a map. Above it, the following was written. This is a diagram of Hope's Peak Academy's East District. Well done, me. Without thinking, I struck a victory pose. I jumped onto the raised edge of the fountain that decorated the center of the courtyard, comparing the buildings around me with the ones on the map. Literature building, math building, physics building, arts, health, linguistics, faculty. As cold droplets from the fountain kept hitting my thighs, I looked desperately for my destination. The biology building, as if it were my first time visiting. I think that's it. My eyes dropped on a square building with a distinctive light green interior. Its appearance seemed to line up with what was drawn on the notebook. All right. I jumped down from the fountain's edge and started running. Some boys in the area looked at me in surprise. Maybe my skirt flew up for a second during my vigorous sleep, but that really had nothing to do with me. In any case, even if I don't remember the place, I found my destination. My furious dash led me inside the biology building, where I soon discovered a flight of stairs at the back of the lobby. I didn't lose momentum for even a second. I ran all the way up to the 3rd floor, and when I reached it, I ran down the corridor, checking the plates next to the doors that lined its halls. Finally, at the very end, I found the sign that read, Neuroscience Institute. I hastily stopped in my tracks. After a quick, deep breath, I checked my hair and my smile in the compact mirror. Yep, cute as always. Flashing the same wonderful smile and shouting, "Good morning!" in my brightest voice. I opened the lab door, and that's when it happened. Something flew just past my ear, slicing the air with a whoosh. Eek! Eek! I turned my head in a panic. Oh, hold on. There we go. I turned my head in a panic and saw a small blade embedded in the wall behind me, still vibrating from the impact. I jumped back, letting out a yelp. Why is there a knife flying through the air? A chide voice answered back from inside the lab. Don't shout. The moment I heard that voice, my heart started beating faster. As it loudly thumped in my chest, I turned toward the interior of the lab, where a boy was lounging on the bed in the center of the room. You're late. That's unseemly for someone as ugly as you. Damn, asshole, this guy's mean. A dirty white shirt was sloppily thrown over his body. He was lying face up, his gaze focused on a thick volume of manga held above his head. He didn't so much as look at me as he spoke. You're also too loud for someone as ugly as you. Come to think of it, you're acting so scared of a little scalpel is weird too. Wait a second, I interrupted him hurriedly. I could report you for discrimination if you keep calling me ugly, you know. Where are you going to report me to? The National Japanese Association of Ugly People? That's pretty good. I gotta give him that one. That kind of group would be guilty of discrimination just by existing. The boy who kept calling me ugly while keeping his face buried in the manga was the person in charge of this lab, the doctor in charge of my treatment, my childhood friend, the boy I liked most in this world. He's the ultimate neurologist, Yasuke Matsuda. I've heard that name before. I think. Oh, I see. You're a member of that association, aren't you? Is that why you're so angry? I'm not, and I'm not even ugly. On second thought, you're right. You aren't ugly. My chest swelled in pride, and I flashed the winning smile. Yep, that's right. I even checked the mirror just now, and you're super ugly. Super ugly? My shock was considerable, but it didn't take me long to recover, just enough to come up with a sharp response. Liar! I'm not super ugly. If anything, I'm world-class cute. Matsuda continued to ignore the fuss. I was making his eyes never leaving his manga. I don't care what the world thinks. Ugliness is subjective, and I'm free to take my own judgment. Oh, I don't care what the world thinks. Ugliness is subjective, and I'm free to make my own judgment, he said, as if the matter at hand didn't concern him at all. So, tell me where you think I'm ugly. I'll get fixated with surgery. I cried in desperation. Is it my eyes? My nose? Maybe my mouth? How about my voice? Your heart, mostly. But I can't fix my heart in surgery. Is that so? Poor you. Honestly, you're beyond help. Both your face and your brain aren't any good. I think you could have some success if you use your ugliness or sympathy, though. Go stand in front of a train station and beg for change or something. I'm sure you'll make lots of money. I dropped my shoulders crestfallen. My hands fell to my side and my body dropped limp. The verbal beating I'd received was just too harsh. By the way, who are you? Huh? I raised my head in surprise at his unexpected question. I've only heard your voice up to now, so I don't know who you are yet. Are you saying you were talking to me this entire time and you didn't know who I was? It's your fault. You never told me who you were. That's pretty rude. I didn't, but you recognize my face, right? It's me. I don't have time to look at you, said Matsuda, still absorbed in his manga. I just got to the good part. I don't have time. It's just a manga. And if you're going to ask what's more important, me or the manga, I'll still be listening to you. But as far as looking goes, I'll take the manga, same as always. I see. If the answer's the same as always, that means manga was always more important to you than me. That's cruel. I didn't want to know that. That's a fine observation, but please just answer the question. Okay. Pressured, I took the notebook out of my backpack once more and read its front cover. Ryoko Otonashi's memory book. As soon as I saw the words, I remembered. I remembered my own name. It seems my name is Ryoko Otonashi. Maybe. I know only one person stupid enough not to be sure of her own name. Matsuda let out a big sigh. Huh? So you weren't someone suspicious after all. Are you trying to say you threw that scalpel earlier because you mistook me for someone suspicious? Is that it? That's right. Not the kind of guy who throws sharp objects at acquaintances after all. Liar! I pointed my finger at Matsuda. When even before checking to see who I was, you told me I was late and I was too loud for an ugly person. The proof you knew who I was... Thwump. Matsuda loudly snapped his manga shut, leveraging the bed's cushion to bounce onto his own feet. He walked briskly toward me until there was almost no distance between us. What's wrong? As he stared straight into my eyes, my body flushed with heat. Did you remember that? Huh? Matsuda gripped my shoulder firmly with both hands, and his face drew close to mine. Do you remember me calling you ugly when you got here? He asked me in a slow, firm tone. Having Matsuda press so close to me with such a serious expression on his face made my heartbeat increase tenfold. I think so. I guess my condition's a little better today. Just as I could feel my face turn pink, he released his hold onto me and turned to face elsewhere. Then, still looking away, he whispered as if talking to himself. Is her condition really better, or is it getting worse? Huh? What do you mean? It's nothing. Masuda shook his head and began speaking in a commanding tone. Right. Go lay on the bed. We have to begin today's treatment. With my mind still reverberating with the beats of my heart, I removed my backpack and set it aside. Give me 1 second, chat. Let me just change the music real quick. Oops. Whoopsies. Let me pause the music real quick, grab some water. Oh shit, there goes my holder. Give me one. Let me just turn on the fan real quick, chat. I'll be right back. Okay. Back to reading, back to reading. There we are. It's nothing. Matsuda shook his head and began speaking in a commanding tone. Right. Go lay on the bed. We have to begin today's treatment. With my mind still reverberating with the beats of my heart, I removed my backpack and set it aside. Then I laid down in my bed, occupied by Matsuda until just a few minutes ago. As I let my body sink into the softness, my nose filled with the scent of the sheets, Matsuda's scent. It tickled my nostrils as the remains of the warmth engulfing my body. I felt just as happy as if he were lying next to me, hugging me softly. I laughed an instinctive giddy laugh. Something funny? Matsuda grimaced and gave me a hard look. I realize that's the way dung beetles laugh, but even though you are one, it's just too gross. Can you at least try to laugh normally? Ahoy, hoy, 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 hoy. Ahoy, hoy, hoy, hoy. What's normal about that? If anything, that's even more gross. Annoyed, Matsuda rolled a cart noisily from the corner of the room. Sitting atop it were several complicated, important-looking machines. He pulled the cart up to the bedside, and with a brief that cuts off weirdly. And with a brief, let's begin, started operating one of the machines with a tense expression on his face. I found myself staring at him as he worked. Silky soft hair with long almond eyes peeking through it. Long feminine eyelashes, a pointed jaw, thin lips, slender and pale fingers. Stop looking at me, super ugly. It's creepy. And a sharp tongue. That's right. That's my Mazda. I rolled to my side and began to write something in my notebook. You don't have to write everything down, dung beetle. But if I don't write it down, I'd forget it all. Matsuda let out an exaggerated sigh. Honestly, your brain's like a bottomless pit. A bottomless pit. It wasn't another one of his cruel jokes. It was true. I forget everything I see and hear after a very short time. No matter how awful it may be, I don't know the reason. If I ever knew, I've forgotten it. But whatever the reason may be, forgetfulness is not normal. Of that I'm certain. But it's not like I'm forgetting things because I want to. There's a sickness in my brain, right? I can't help it. So nice to be. So nice to be me. No, I don't think we can call it just a sickness and be done with it. Matsuda shook his head slightly. The human memory is a very complicated thing, and there's a lot we don't know about it. Almost like a black box. Your situation isn't just a simple sickness that can be dealt with like any other. As he explained, he stuck suction pads all over my head, face, the cords from which were attached to machines on the trolley. There's parts of the human brain that we call episodic memory. It stores your personal experiences. What you see and hear, the area of the brain responsible for it, is called the hippocampus. Something goes wrong there. The brain experiences difficulties in creating, storing new episodes. New episodes? There's a famous old example about a patient who had the hippocampus removed in surgery, lost all ability to form new memories. Since then, there's been a lot about research about the exact role of the hippocampus in relation to your memory. That said, even if your hippocampus is malfunctioning, you'd still retain your procedural memory. Memory of how to do tasks like riding a bicycle or using tools. You won't remember the episodes related to those tasks, though. For example, you might remember how to ride a bicycle, but you won't remember how you learned to ride them. That's it in a nutshell. I see. So that's why, even though I'm super forgetful, I still don't know how to read and write in my notebook. I held the notebook in question with both hands and nodded thoughtfully. Ryoko Tanashi's memory notebook. The notebook was memory itself for me. The only thing I knew I could trust above all else. As long as I had it. I could more or less live a regular life like regular people. That said, it seemed from this school was little behind in accommodating students like me. And I still faced many difficulties on that front. For example, during exams, I couldn't review my notes, which is something that caused my grades to plummet and got me suspended from... What? I've been suspended from school? I yelled, looking up from the notebook. Just because my grades are bad? That's not fair! You should be glad they haven't kicked you out altogether. I had to negotiate with the school to keep that from happening. Huh? You stood up for me? My heart skipped a beat. I'm so happy. You really are fond of me, aren't you? Matsuda scoffed. Couldn't risk losing precious research. Even so, Matsuda took the time to do something so kind for me. Your case seems to involve failure. Okay, I'm back. Sorry, the mic cable just died, so I had to replace it. It was an old cable already, so just needed to be replaced. That was all. But we're back. We're back. We're back. Mike is alive once again. All right, let's see. Let's pick up where we left off. Let us continue before... Let's see. Okay. Even so, Matsuda took the time to do something so kind for me. Your case seems to involve a failure in the retrieval of long-term memory. It's possible something went wrong in the synapses connecting the neurons somewhere in your brain. But I need more time to investigate the problem more thoroughly before I can really say for sure. I didn't understand most of what you said, but at least I haven't been expelled. If I get expelled now, where would I even go? I don't have time. I don't have anywhere outside of school. I've forgotten everything else. I don't even remember my family or any old friends. I may or may not have, and if I get expelled, I'll also end up away from you, Matsuda. Being separated from Matsuda was the thing I feared most. My body shivered a little just saying the words out loud. Don't worry about something so stupid. Matsuda turned to face me and spoke bluntly. You're a valuable research subject, and I don't plan to lose you. At least not at the moment. But you might change your mind later. I'm happy, I suppose. But I remember not to be too much of a burden from now on. Don't complain. You should be honored that you're participating in such important research. Matsuda chided me, and then continued his explanation. In order to understand why memory loss occurs, we need to understand the core elements of our brain memory storage apparatus. Unlike improving the quality and longevity of human memory, or developing medicine to prevent memory loss in the future, we might even be able to treat memories like we do data on a hard drive, creating devices to back them up or destroy select parts of them freely. Actually, there's already research going on for that abroad. By suppressing the enzymes kinase M zeta, they were able to erase the long-term memory of lab rats. I see. In fact, I didn't see it all, but for the time being, I had to be agreeable. In any case, I'm just super happy that I can be of help to my beloved Matsuda. I didn't quite understand if he was serious or just making fun of me. Your brain is empty and so are the words it produces. You really are an empty girl. But that's just how Matsuda is. He always insists I should take care of myself, even if I oppose him. He may be cold to me and he may be blunt, but he doesn't treat me with fake sympathy. It's depressing when people do, so I'm grateful for his attitude. I may be empty, but I'm still super happy. I raised my voice, refusing to be discouraged, but Matsuda's reply was almost a whisper. Well, I can't deny you're helping me out here. One does not get his hands on such a rare case very often. Did you say rare? I like the sound of that. It makes me sound special. I felt as though I was being praised. So, what's rare about me? Tell me, hey, tell me. Stop acting like a child. Matsuda spat as he sighed once again. I don't want to tell you, you just get annoyingly excited. Oh, what's wrong with that? Tell me. My insistence finally paid off. You don't often see someone posing such a remarkable brain-intensive talent as you do, affected by memory loss. That's why you're such a rare case. Huh? Talent? Brain-intensive? Nothing came to mind. It's fine if you don't remember. It was really irritating when you used that talent of yours, to be honest. I'd prefer it if you never tried to use it on me. You got that, dung beetle? I didn't quite get what he meant, but his dung beetle comment stung my heart a little bit, so I just decided to nod in agreement. At least I could understand that he was insulting me. Well, I don't really care as long as I get to spend these intimate moments with you, Matsuda. I should be thankful that there's sickness in my brain. I told you it's not really a sickness. Matsuda stuck even more suction cups to my head, as if he was trying to hide my grinning face. Nevertheless, it's admirable you take this so easily. Your condition is no laughing matter. Shouldn't you be at least a little worried? Huh? What is there to be worried about? Well, you know, said Matsuda in amazement. You don't seem to be concerned at all about this. whether these symptoms are ever going to go away or whether you'll always be like this. Eh? His words surprised me. I don't like Matsuda at all, asking a question like that in such a serious voice. I'm not worried at all. It wasn't like Matsuda at all, asking a question like that in such a serious voice. I laughed, trying to lighten the mood. I mean, the only me I can remember is the me that's lying here on this bed at this exact moment. I can't remember anything from before I lost my memory, so it's not like I have anything to compare it to. That's why I don't see my forgetfulness as a disadvantage. Just a part of who I am. You don't see it as a disadvantage. But aren't you even worried about how this memory loss started? Or when it's going to end? Not at all. In fact, I'm much more worried that if I suddenly get cured, I wouldn't get to see you anymore, Matsuda. The room grew silent. After it continued for a while, Matsuda broke it with a quiet sigh. You shouldn't worry, he muttered his lips. He muttered, his voice suddenly dark. What? You'll always be like this. I looked up. The face peeking through his pitch black hair was stiff, lost in thought. Matsuda? As soon as I called him, he straightened up and turned back to me. No, it's nothing. He shook his head as if trying to smooth things over in his mind. Then he returned the machine, waving his hands as if though it were nothing worth fussing over. It's true that nothing good can come out of being too pessimistic over your symptoms. That's one case where your natural cheerfulness is actually helpful. Yep. My thinking's very flexible after all. Your head is flexible, that's for sure. You can't even remember your friends or family before you lost your memory. Yet you aren't even slightly disconcerted. Like I said, I don't mind forgetting those things. As long as I'm with you. It's just like I never had them at all. Since I've forgotten about anyone else, they really have nothing to do with me anymore. Those words again. Matsuda closed his eyes for what felt like an awfully long time. If you keep saying you have nothing to do with you, you're going to end up with nothing left inside. Oh, I'll be fine. I'll always have you, Matsuda, I answered cheerfully. You're the only person I can remember, so as long as you're here, I'll never be alone. You probably link me with the process of coming here to receive this treatment in your procedural memory. That's why you can remember me. No, that's not it at all. Yeah, I know, said Matsuda, trying to calm me down before I became too flustered. He continued attaching suction cups to my face, stopping from time to time to scratch his chest, which I could catch a glimpse of through a gap in his dirty white shirt. Did you really know what I meant? He probably just said that to shut me up. I don't think he even believed me when I said I remembered him. But it's true. I don't remember him in the usual sense of the word. Remember, that is. But I didn't lie when I said I do. I remember Matsuda. I forget him, and yet I remember. I'm not talking about our conversations or what we did together. For those kind of memories, I have to rely on my notebook. No, what I remember is something more special and more important. Not memories, but feelings. Not using my head, but using my heart. What I remember about Matsuda is pure emotion. Every time I see him, I feel the beat of my heart before my head even realizes what's going on. The beat tells me one very important thing. For me, his very existence is precious, one of a kind, irreplaceable. That's why, no matter how forgetful I become, I will never forget him. There's a connection deeper than memories between the two of us. For me, Matsuda's special. He's extraordinary. He's a miracle. And shut up already, will you? Huh? Came back to my senses, confused. You heard me? I almost leapt out of the bed, but Matsuda pinned my head back down. If you move too much, you're going to disconnect the cords. What a waste of human life, he said cruelly, as if I'd been trying to disconnect his cords on purpose. But I never said a word. Were you talking? Were you talking about how loud my heartbeat is? I can't help that. If I stop beating, I'd die. I wasn't talking about you. I was referring to the noise outside. Huh? Outside? Matsuda turned up his chin and pointed out the window. As I listened intently, I could hear an unusual array of noises coming from outside. Jeers, roars, howling voices, repulsed accusatory voices, reactionary voices full of anger. All of them combined to make a sound almost as though the earth was tremoring. It was an assembly of harsh, hate-filled voices. What is that? It's the parade. They're getting louder every day now. A parade? You don't mean that parade, do you? Liar. You don't remember it at all. Matsuda flicked my forehead and continued explaining with a grim expression. It's essentially a demonstration, but the teaching staff, or maybe I should say, the old geezers in the steering community, didn't like the sound of it, so they decided to give it a ridiculous name like a parade. Grab some water real quick. But isn't a parade the exact opposite of a demonstration? That's exactly why they chose it. But why a demonstration at all? It's the students from the reserve course. Reserve course? I've never heard of it before. Or have I? You don't remember, of course. Well, your head is enormous, so I guess it can't be helped. Wait! Calling a girl enormous is sexual harassment. If this were the Edo era, you would be beheaded by... No. My head, which was on its way up from the bed, was pushed back down. Hope's Peak Academy isn't a traditional learning facility like the other schools. They provide education for the talented, but at the same time they research that talent. The teaching staff aren't just simple educators, they are also scientists who research human talent. But scientists are a nasty breed. The more they research, the deeper they want to dig. Therefore, there's something they never have enough of. Do you know what that is? It's probably funding? Oh, right. My chance to find the answer on my own was gone, so that's all I could say. Up until recently, Hope's Peak Academy was a small-scale facility that could survive on a government subsidiary and donations from alumni. But the steering community wasn't satisfied with the state of research, which was slowed by the lack of resources. So they implemented the reserve course system in order to bring in more money. I nodded, humming in agreement to show Matsuda that I was listening. The gist of it is, the Ultimates are affiliated with the main school, but now there's a separate educational facility as well called the Reserve Course. That part of the school is located on the west district of the campus, while the main school remains here in the east district. So we don't actually intermingle much. I heard there's not much that's the same over there. They don't scout their students, instead relying on the standard entrance exam to choose among applicants. Their teaching staff is chosen the same way our teachers are. Scientists and researchers who work and live at the school, while they have regular teachers coming from outside. So then it's just a regular high school, isn't it? Exactly. Nevertheless, there was a flood of applicants. A brand name is a powerful thing. Matsuda almost spat out words. People don't care, it was just a reserve course. The prestigious Hope's Peak Academy finally opened the doors to the public. People are sheep. They're drawn to the name, and they took advantage of that to get more money from people who would pay an arm and a leg just to get in. Thanks to that. Sorry, I need water. Hold on. It's been a while since I've read out loud. I mean, read storytelling. I'm storytelling. Thanks to that, the school went through a rapid growth spurt. We suddenly have research buildings that would make a university jealous. No one was prepared for that. In just a year or two, Hope's Peak Academy became a school of an entirely different scale. The power of the steering community also grew accordingly. But isn't that kind of a ripoff? Seems that way, but that's just the kind of world we live in. Matsuda's mouth twisted in a bitter smile. Right now, Hope's Peak Academy is set up like an old-fashioned caste system. The multitude of students in the reserve course exist only to support the few ultimates in the main. Apparently, they have some kind of school system in place for exceptional students from the reserve course to transfer to the main school. But I've never heard of anyone actually succeeding. Our teachers probably don't think any of them deserve it. Huh? That's not how educators should behave. You're right. But it's exactly how scientists do. No, they do not care about anything but their research subject. I'm just the same, in fact. It's just that the research subject is human talent. But it's so unfair. I puff my cheeks in annoyance. Of course it is. If it wasn't, there wouldn't be any need for demonstrations, would there? But still, Matsuda suddenly cut himself off, and his tone of voice changed to a cautious one. I don't think they could have set all this up on their own. This has to be the result of someone else's scheme. That's how it seems. Eh? Matsuda narrowed his eyes and looked outside the window. His look was so grim that I hesitated to speak. Hey, ugly. After a short while, he turned back to me as if remembering something. Write this conversation down properly in your notebook. Don't brush it off as having nothing to do with you. Those reserve corps students don't think much of us. I don't think they're going to attack you or anything, but it's better to be cautious. Okay, I understand. As I replied, I noticed the suction cups stuck to my head and my face were making it difficult to move my mouth. I need you to stay still for a while. You can sleep if you want. Matsuda stood and stepped away from the line of sight. But I'm not sleepy at all, I replied in an insecure tone from the side of the room. I heard Matsuda's voice answer me. I can give you sleeping pills. A dozen should probably be enough. What? Isn't that a lethal dose? Are you sure it's alright? As my knees grew even deeper, Matsuda appeared in front of me again. He was now wearing a school jacket on top of his dirty shirt. Something happens to my machines while I'm gone, you're dead. Are you going somewhere? I have a little business to take care of. Anyway, if something happens to my machines, you're dead. He was serious enough to repeat the warning twice. I wouldn't mind being killed if it's you who kills me. It would be troublesome for me. I hate gore. I didn't think that was such a good quality for someone who studies the human brain, but I kept that to myself. In that case, if I stay here and wait like a good girl, let's watch a movie together later. A movie? Yeah, like that one. I flipped through the pages of my notebook, searching for memories about movies. Here's a one. It's about two robbers, Harry and Marv, sneaking into the McAllister's household. Are you talking about Home Alone? Seems you've forgotten, but you bugged me to see it with you before, and we did. Really? In that case, I continued flipping through the notebook, but I couldn't find mentions of any other movies. Seems I was particularly interested in that one. It was his fault for letting me watch it. Well, I'm sure it's a masterpiece, so I'd still be interested even if you watch it again. Certainly not a bad movie, but it's not the kind of movie I'd watch again and again. So what kind of movie do you... Please don't ask me questions fit for the diary of a middle school girl. I felt his distasteful stare looming over me. I refused to give up. Come on, let's do it. I've got a feeling that it will be just as interesting to watch one more. I read a little more in my notebook. According to this, I thought this little boy who played the main character, Macaulay Culkin, is super cute. There's a cute boy in this movie. Isn't that exciting? Why exactly do you think that would excite me? Also, it's Macaulay Culkin. Wacol is a lingerie brand. It says here that I thought he was so cute, I wanted to adopt him. You only say that because you don't know how he looks today. He underwent quite the transformation. Transformation? Huh? Matsuda narrowed his almond eyes even more than usual, and swept his bangs away from his forehead. Just be a good girl and go to sleep. Seemed he was tired of me trying to postpone his departure. Wait, don't go. Suddenly panicking, I tried to stop him. I don't want you to go. I'll be lonely. Don't leave me here. We haven't seen each other in a long time, have we? A long time? Matsuda stopped in his tracks. Why do you think we haven't seen each other in a long time? I'm asking why you think we haven't seen each other in a long time. Matsuda faced away from me as he spoke. His voice was tinted with pain and made me feel anxious. Well, because I can feel my heart pounding. So if you were to see me every day, your heart wouldn't beat as fast? No, that's not it. We saw each other just yesterday, you know. We did? Just as I thought, your memory isn't getting better. Matsuda's back slumped forward, as if he were dejected. I guess you were just lying when you said I'm the only one you can remember. Wait, I'll remember in a second. In a haste, I flipped through pages of my notebook. I went through them all front to back, but I couldn't find any mention of me and Matsuda meeting the day before. I was a complete failure. When I looked up from the notebook, Matsuda was already gone. I'd been had. There was nothing more I could do about it. I guess there really is nothing I can do now but sleep. No, that's such a bad ending. At the very least, when I sleep, I can lose myself inside my dreams. I can escape this lonely world that doesn't have Matsuda in it. I can probably even meet Matsuda in my dreams. With that thought deep in my heart, I rolled onto my side, careful not to disturb the cords all over my head, and sniffed the pillow that still had traces of Matsuda's scent. I nuzzled into it as I thought, as though I were a puppy, humming happily. Then I closed my eyes. As my vision blacked out, my other senses sharpened. Before long, the only thing remaining in my world was Matsuda's scent. No, that wasn't the only thing. I could also hear voices interfering with my and Matsuda's private world. An assembly of emotional, unsettling voices filled with hate. Anxiety washed over my entire body. Just by listening to them, so I blocked my ears in a panic. Nothing to do with me after all. Even so, I couldn't sleep. I felt like my body forgot how to. I want to fall asleep. I want to sleep and go to a world where Matsuda is. I want to see him again. Matsuda, 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 Matsuda. And then as I dreaming about Matsuda, I slowly fell into a blissful sleep. End of chapter 3. Let me pull up chat. Matsuda is pretty mean. Oh my goodness. He's so mean and sassy. Ugh. I'm putting in a couple connections because I've heard his name before in game. Junko mentioned that he helped delete their memories. So it just made me wonder. I was like, is he I know he's responsible for deleting the memories. So was he like I don't know. I feel like there's a connection here between her memory losses and him learning how to delete memories. I think the research he's doing with her is on how to delete memories. I think that's got to be it. That has to be it, right? I don't know. Just theory crafting in my head right now. Also, the book he's reading is the title for Danganronpa 2 and Danganronpa 1. Like, Danganronpa 1 is on top of it and Danganronpa 2 is on the bottom. It's cute. You like hearing my tears? Aw, thank you, Azrael. Thank you. For a guy wearing those shoes, he shouldn't be saying all those mean things. Exactly. Bro's got the grippers on, man. Bro, did you see the panel before this one? Bro had them grips on. Exactly. He had his dogs out. Got the Jesus sandals. It's crazy. Still kind of... Hey, yo. Pause. Wait a minute. I have standards. Good. What? Oh, man. But them talking about Home Alone, yeah, I didn't expect that. The Home Alone reference was crazy. I didn't see that coming. I guess she really likes Home Alone. Oh man, that's cool. Whoa. All right. It's canon, yeah. That means Home Alone is canon in that Danganronpa universe, you know? It's intriguing. But yeah, my main theory is, Matsuda helps Junko. Because that's what Junko said in the first game. Matsuda is the one that helps Junko. So I think he's using Ryoko's condition. He's researching how to delete memories due to Ryoko's condition. And either he could be learning from Ryoko, or Ryoko could be test subject number 1, you know? Ryoko is like the first subject he tested it on. I don't know. Could be something like that. Or maybe he's using Ryoko to learn knowledge. It's either or for me right now. It could go either way. That'd be a cool plot twist though. Ryoko being like subject 0. Yeah. Home Alone is canon in their universe. That's a crazy thing to think about. Yeah, as soon as they said his name, I just remember I had a flashback to that instant she talked about it. And I was like, "Oh, like you were in the game. You were in game 1." It was just like a sudden little oh, I remember you. I remember you are the ultimate neurologist. I'm telling you, in game 1 I was the ultimate detective. I was killing it in game 1. I solved the mystery before it was even told to me. I was killing it in game 1. Game 2, not so much, but I killed it in game 1. The VODs are all up on YouTube if you want to watch them. I have them all on my YouTube video, or on my YouTube itself. Sure you did. I did. I literally did. I literally go back to the last video. You were there, Trash. You were there. You remember. I solved it. I had it basically solved. Basically. I was Caesar Kyoko P. Kirigiri Penguin. I swear you didn't. I did. Go watch the VOD. I promise you I did. I so promise you I did. I had it solved. Maybe with some things. No, I had it solved. I promise. I had like fully solved it, or at least for the most part fully solved it. Danganronpa 2, though, I did not see any of that coming. Keep sharing your theories after each chapter. I love hearing your thoughts. Oh, thank you. I will do. I am very interested in the theory crafting in between chapters. But yeah, I promise. You can look through the VODs. The last one for sure is where I'm like, all right, this happens. And then I got most of it right. I remember getting most of it right. But I still got a good portion wrong too. So it wasn't 100% solved. But it was good enough for me. All right. But this chair keeps squeaking and I hate it. Then again, I'm like crisscross applesauce on this chair right now. I don't even know how I'm doing this. I got long ass legs. But I'm sitting crisscross applesauce in this chair. What do you youngins know about crisscross applesauce? I'm gonna drink some more water and we'll get the next chapter started right now. You're proud of what you accomplished. That's all that matters. True. Fair enough. Damn. Almost choked there. All right. Next chapter. Chapter 4. A short while after leaving the laboratory, Yasuke Matsuda stood in front of a large door that exuded a solemn atmosphere and straightened his posture. What are you so nervous about? He wanted to mock himself, but at the same time realized nervousness was inevitable. It was the first time he'd ever stepped into Hope's Peak Academy's inner sanctum. After the faculty building, it was the only building the students were forbidden from entering. after all, and sure enough, he had explained the situation to several teachers who had stopped him along the way. This wasn't enough, though. His final destination was itself a special place. Even with this forbidden building, Yatsuke Masuda raised his head and stared at the door in front of him. It was a pretentiously decorated wooden door that gave him the feeling visitors weren't welcome. The metal plate set in red. Hope's Peak Academy Steering Committee Meeting Room. This was, so to speak, the inner sanctum's inner sanctum. Even the teaching staff were not to walk in uninvited. Nervousness truly was inevitable for someone to enter such a special room, but nevertheless, pull yourself together. Matsuda quietly cleared his throat. He tried to build up some semblance of courage before he ended up swallowed whole by a pressing atmosphere. Then, he raised his fist and knocked twice on the door. Yasuke Matsuda from Hope's Peak Academy's Academy 77th class, he announced, slowly pushing the heavy door open. Excuse me. The room was different from a classroom, as could be. The ceiling, pillars, and walls were excessively decorated in a way that Matsuda found gloomy rather than dignified. He stepped forward, the sound of his footsteps swallowed by the thick carpet. We apologize for calling you here on such a short notice. The voice was surprisingly light and pleasant. It belonged to Hope's Peak Academy's headmaster, Jin Kirigiri. Every time Matsuda saw the man, he couldn't help but be astonished. How young he was. In his mind, a headmaster was a middle-aged man with white hair, a mustache, and a drab suit. Kirigiri, still in his 30s, was just too young for the job, and looked even younger. Please, take a seat. We wouldn't expect you to stand during our conversation. A large circular table stood in the middle of the room, with antique chairs lined up all around it. Excuse me, Matsuda said, as he sat in the nearest chair, placing him directly across the table from Kirigiri. From the moment he'd sat down, he could feel several pairs of eyes staring intently at him. They belonged to 4 old men who sat around the table at set intervals. Every one of them wore a pitch-black suit and tie, as if attending a funeral. Their appraising glare felt to Matsuda as if each one of them were breathing down the back of his neck. Do you know who we are? The voice was rusty, and Matsuda couldn't tell which old man it belonged to. You are the steering community, yes? You have our sincerest gratitude for all your help following that incident. I don't know what you're talking about. The wrinkles on the old man's face deepened. He didn't care to answer on the topic at hand. There's no need to be cautious here. We know everything, one of the old men said. You helped us with the interrogation of the student who first discovered the scene, didn't you? Said another. The student who first discovered the scene. The second Matsuda heard those words, his heart began to beat faster. He tried to hide it again by asking a question of his own. Do you intend for me to interrogate them again? Not at all, a different old man shook his head. This time we are dealing with a different student. We have a problem, you see. A problem that someone in your field of expertise should be able to solve. We're looking forward to your help. He spoke as if the matter was already settled, a detail that Matsuda found worrying. What if I refuse? A few seconds of silence later, one of the old men started to laugh. It was a quiet laugh at first, but soon the second, third, and then the 4th old man joined, filling the room with a scornful laughter. Their voices descended on Matsuda from every angle. Matsuda. The laughter suddenly stopped. Do you really believe you have a choice in the matter? The old man spoke in a condescending tone. The girl you've been treating, despite her leave of absence from our school, her health doesn't seem to have improved at all. This time it was Matsuda's wrinkles that deepened as he frowned. What are you trying to say? You're also still a student. We can't have you wasting your time on a dunce with no hope of recovery. His words were overflowing with contempt. The way we see it, We can't keep extending a student's temporary leave when we don't know when or if she'll be able to return. The faculty's purpose is to nurture talent. Those who are too much of a failure to use it should simply step down for the other students' sake. That said, if you agree to help us... Shut the fuck up, old man. What? You talk too much, and you're spouting nothing but fucking nonsense. The room's atmosphere changed in a second, and the tension skyrocketed. Why, you insolent! Matsuda stood, and the old man froze. He looked at them as if they were nothing but worms. No, his stare was filled with far more anger and contempt than that. He looked at them as though they were worms he was about to trample on. Dunce? Failure? Let me tell you one thing. I am the only one who's allowed to say things to her. No one else has any rights to. Hey, who do you think you're talking? I said shut the fuck up. His tone immediately silenced the men once more, and he continued speaking in a low voice. That girl, even when people make fun of her, call her stupid, she brushes it off, because she thinks it has nothing to do with her. That's why I have to speak up for her. I wouldn't be able to live with myself if I didn't. To the ears of the steering community members, his words carried an indescribable sense of intimidation. How could they be so overpowered by someone not yet in his 20s? They did not know the answer. They did not understand the power someone who possessed talent had. The power which Hope's Peak Academy called hope. May I interrupt? May I interrupt? A slow voice forced its way into the conversation, belonging to Kirigiri Matsuda. Turned his coercive stare toward me. It's just that I think I'd prefer to contribute a little to this conversation. Kirigiri gave a wry smile and scratched his head. Despite the nervous atmosphere that filled the room, he seemed completely calm. Matsuda, having lost his momentum, closed his eyes slowly, let out a heavy sigh, and sat back down as soon as he was done. Kirigiri continued in a quiet tone. Matsuda, we are merely asking for a favor, not for a favor for us. You can consider it a favor to every student and a teacher of Hope's Peak Academy. Would you please at least consider listening to what we have to say? Matsuda stayed quiet and looked at Kirigiri, unable to judge what the man's true intentions were. Kirigiri, on his part, tried his best to take back control of the situation. I won't ask you to do anything other than listen. If you decide to refuse, we will accept your decision. With the preliminaries done, you move straight to the topic at hand. I'm sure I don't have to explain to you about the incident. But we should probably still begin there anyway. Kirigiri cleared his throat, folded his hands in front of himself, and continued. It's been a month. We still can't believe what had happened. Such an appalling incident taking place inside Hope's Peak Academy. Feels like we're living a nightmare. But it really did happen, yelled one of the old men. 13 kids, screamed another. 13 victims. And the details of what happened are still unclear. How could this have happened to our school? When the screaming voices stopped, Matsuda spoke up. There was something he wanted to confirm. So, you never informed the police? Of course we didn't. What do you think would happen if we did? What would it solve? This is not a problem that can be taken care of by arresting a culprit. But what about the victims' families? We're taking care of that. Yet another old man yelled without skipping a beat. You don't need to be worried about such things. Judging by the way he spoke, the academy had already taken measures behind the scenes for dealing with it all. They must have asked some favors from the school alumni. Many of them rose to high positions on strength of the Hope's Peak brand. And if that brand were to fall from grace, they too would lose it all. You're right, I shouldn't have to worry about that. So, what is it you want me to do? This other student you were talking about. They must have something to do with this incident as well, right? Grab some water real quick. Water's so good. We need you to help us extract information from the student that will help clarify the truth behind the incident, answered Kirigiri. You say clarify the truth, but isn't that a contradiction? Didn't you decide to cover up the whole incident? The cover-up? Matsuda was the only student faculty trusted with that secret. In exchange for his cooperation, he was awarded a large research grant, new equipment for his lab. In that sense, he really was just another scientist. But that wasn't the only reason he agreed to cooperate. No one but Matsuda himself knew the other reason. Yes, I suppose it does sound like a contradiction, doesn't it? Answered Kirigiri, after a short hesitation. However, this isn't a necessity. We strongly believe that concealing this incident is for the best, but there's much we still don't know. We can't hide something we don't completely understand. That's why we must learn the entire story regarding what happened. In order to protect Hope's Peak Academy, this cover-up has to be perfect. Kirigiri said it all without the slightest sign of doubt. He would do anything to protect Hope's Peak Academy. Matsuda could empathize with this idea. You have to sacrifice something to protect something, Matsuda thought. I can understand that much at least. It's exactly what I'm doing. So then, who is the student you want me to interrogate? Kirigiri licked his dry lips and gave Matsuda a cautious answer. We didn't disclose this to you before, but in addition to the person you knew of who discovered the crime scene, there were 2 survivors. 2 survivors? Sure enough, that was the first time Matsuda had heard about them. They were indispensable for discovering the truth about the incident, of course. Had all been well, we would have questioned them immediately after the incident to hear their story, but due to circumstances, we were unable to do so. Circumstances? One of the students never recovered consciousness and has been in a coma since the incident. The other, thankfully, came out unhurt, but went missing soon after. We do not know where that student is right now. 1 comatose student and 1 missing. The circumstances were indeed severe, but there was still a possibility. You want me to see if I can learn anything from the comatose student, don't you? Kirigiri nodded. Exactly. Finding the truth in order to hide it was certainly a twisted thing to do, but it was also rather convenient for Matsuda. There might be a chance. My chance to protect her. I understand, he said. He had no other choice. I'll see what I can do. Do you think it can be managed? One of the old men leaned forward suddenly in an attempt to regain authority. Still too early to tell. Depends on the student's exact condition. I'll try my best. In any case, Matsuda answered bluntly and returned to face Kirigiri. What about the missing student? You don't just plan to let them roam freely, do you? After a short silence, Kirigiri looked in and looked straight into Matsuda's eyes. Is something worrying you? His gaze was sharp, and Matsuda felt as if he could read his innermost thoughts. Wanting to escape it, he retracted quickly. No, I was just curious. His voice shook with anxiety, and he continued in an effort to hide it. I mean, a missing student is incredibly suspicious, isn't it? Don't you think they could be the culprit who killed 13 students and left 1 in a coma? The old men immediately started rustling, their whispers reverberating through the meeting room. Kirigiri alone kept his cool. It's just as you say. The way things look, that student is extremely suspicious. In that case what? Kirigiri interrupted forcefully. It just justifies covering up this incident even more. If we don't, it's going to be the end of this school. The end of this school. Matsuda was intrigued by Kirigiri's choice of words. Does that mean the student who has gone missing is someone special? Certain name suddenly found itself floating in the back of Matsuda's mind. He had the name only in rumors and in stories. He always presumed to be urban legends, but if that person really did exist, they may very well be involved in this incident. If that's the case, it all makes sense. It makes perfect sense that they would call such an incident the tragedy of Hope's Peak Academy. It makes sense, but it's also terrible. A single drop of sweat fell down Matsuda's temple as he whispered those words, deep inside his heart. End of chapter 4. Damn. Damn. This is pretty good. This is pretty good so far. I'm really intrigued. I think yeah, shit is so deep. The two students, I have some theories on who it could be. For sure, the one in a coma is probably Junko. For sure. Somehow. I just have a feeling. It's Junko. Maybe. I don't know. But the one that disappeared, either it's Mukuro or it's what's his name? Izuru Kamakura. It's either Mukuro or Izuru Kamakura. One of the two. I'm most likely betting on it being Izuru just because it would be a real tragedy if the super engineered Hope's Peak Academy student was the one who killed. So that would make sense for it to be a tragedy. You know, that just makes sense to me. But I don't know. Could be, could not be. Who knows? Slay theories, man. Slay theories. Give me another second. I'll be right back. I'm gonna go to the bathroom. I'll be right back, guys. Yo, 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 yo. I'm back. Back to reading. Back to the Danganronpa reading stream. I mean, storytelling stream, because who would ever read? Reading? Boo. Boo. I hate that. Ugh. Reading? Cringe. This is storytelling for all intents and purposes. All right. Next chapter. Chapter 5. I jumped to my feet in a sudden pain of my skin being pulled violently, and saw a boy standing at my bedside with a jumble of cords attached to suction cups in his hands. My heart started pounding. Ah, Matsuda. You're Matsuda, right? Not wasting a second, I leapt straight into him. Just like a matador, he nimbly stepped aside. My head crashed into the wall, as if I were the coyote and had just been tricked by the roadrunner. I could see stars spinning around my head. Why are you avoiding me? Because you have a swollen face. You can't go calling a girl's face swollen. I turned on shaky feet and peered into a mirror atop the nearby desk. My face was covered with violent blue spots the size of small coins, swollen, sure enough. But that's because you pulled those suction cups off my face so violently, Matsuda. I was in a hurry. Oh, I wouldn't mind if you were right here. I'm not in a hurry because I have to use the bathroom. Of course. How silly of me. Matsuda never has to use the bathroom at all. Why do you think I am ugly? You're the most sublime being in human history, of course. Don't include me in your ridiculous delusions. Matsuda breathed a heavy sigh as if giving up. I've had enough. If I keep talking to you, I'll go weird in my head, too. He started tying up the trolley. Anyway, I have more business to attend to. Go home, quickly now. Eh? But why? Naturally. I strongly object to the request. I don't wanna. I'd be lonely again. Honestly, you're hopeless. Matsuda narrowed his eyes and stepped up to me, grasping both of my shoulders tenderly. Close your eyes. Just do it. Close them. As Matsuda's face drew close to me, I could feel my heart pounding against my rib cage. And so, I did as I was told and closed them. My entire body became hot. I felt as if I were about to melt. The blood vessels behind my ears pulsed violently. The situation could only mean one thing, right? It's a terrible cliche, but what else could it be? It is, isn't it? It is. Then, as the anticipation made my heart thump louder, I felt Matsuda moving behind me. I leaned back gently, and before I could even wonder what was going on, he pushed me forward and out into the corridor. Ow! From the excessive force of Matsuda's shove, I collapsed on my behind in the middle of the hallway, with my skirt splayed around me. It was a small mercy that I was wearing clean underwear, at least. The next treatment is in 3 days. Be a good girl and stay in your room. Don't go out on needless walks, Matsuda said. Before I could even get up, he shut the door loudly behind him. Oh, he tricked me. My shoulders drooped, but since there was nothing I could do, I simply left the Neuroscience Institute, crestfallen, as I exited the biology building. And the first thing I did was check my notebook. I accidentally clicked something. Hold on, I lost my page. There we go. I had to go back to dorms, but since I'd forgotten where they were, I flipped through the pages of Ryoko Otonashi's memory notebook. As I walked, eventually, I found the school map that I seemed to have drawn all by myself. This seemed to be like a good time as any to do a full-scale review of my notes and go over the campus of Hope's Peak Academy. Well then, according to my map, Hope's Peak Academy campus is shaped like a huge diamond. It's divided into 4 regions known as district: East, West, North, and South, each about the size of a regular full-scale high school. The East District, which I was walking through now, was the heart of the academy, where the buildings and faculty used by the main school are located. Many of its buildings were still under construction, but there were also several magnificent envy, including research buildings for various fields, much like the biology building that Matsuda's lab was in. In addition, it seems this district is also home to the faculty building, which students are forbidden from entering. Then there's the West District. It seems the building and facilities are for the reserve corps are located there. I don't think I've ever visited it. Unfortunately, there isn't much written in my notebook about it. The South District is where Hope's Peak Academy student dormitories are. In addition, there seems to be a convenience store, a bookstore, and various other shops where necessary supplies can be bought. By the way, it seems only students belonging to the main school are allowed to live in the dorms. It's apparently a special perk that doesn't even cost money. Then there's a North District, which is apparently currently vacant. The only thing left there is the old building, which was still in use until just recently. For the time being, it seems it's been left neglected and without maintenance. So naturally, entrance is forbidden. In short, there isn't much to say about that district at all. Finally, at the very center of the campus, surrounded by 4 districts, is a central plaza, a large park-like space overgrown with trees. It's often used as a relaxation area for the students, but it appears entry is forbidden between 10 at night and 7 in the morning. Well, I don't plan on walking around in the middle of the night, so it seems it has nothing to do with me. And so, despite my messy handwriting, I was able to make sense of the map and return to the dorm safely. Then, ignoring the greeting of the students who had passed me in the halls, I went straight to my room. Upon entering, I was met with a sticky note reading, "This is my room," stuck all around. Yep, this is the right place. There's no question about it. After confirming this important fact, I stood near the doorway for a while, staring into space. But no matter how much I tried, I couldn't think of anything I wanted to do. So eventually, I simply collapsed onto my bed. Excuse me. Unfortunately, it seemed I had already taken a midday nap somewhere, because I was unable to fall asleep. Reluctantly, I decided to kill some time. For me, killing time meant exactly one thing. I took out Ryoko Tanashi's memory notebook, and still lying on the bed, started flipping through its pages. Everything that's written down in the notebook is the undeniable truth. But I can't remember any of it. In other words, it feels like I'm reading a non-fiction book about myself. The excitement of experiencing my own past vicariously is an amazing form of entertainment that only someone as forgetful as myself can enjoy. I read about the conversation I had with Matsuda and the things he would say to me. Most of the notebook was about Matsuda, but that's exactly what made it so fun. Then as I continued flipping through the notebook, my eyes stopped on one single page. The page was filled with a large sketch of a boy's face. My heartbeat increased, if only slightly. This must be a portrait of Matsuda, I thought. But since my heart isn't beating that fast, it must not be a very good likeness. Maybe I should try to make some amendments. I think the nose is all wrong. No, maybe it's the eyes. I couldn't really remember what Matsuda's face looked like. But I used my heartbeat as a measure, and they carefully took to changing the portrait. This is probably how bomb disposal units feel when they're searching for landmines. No, I guess it's a little different. After messing with the portrait for a little bit, I felt my heart beating a little faster than it did before. I did it. I couldn't wipe the smile off my face. I just kept fiddling with my sketch little by little. I'm sure it will eventually look just like the real Matsuda. I'm sure I've been working on the sketch for a while, but of course, I don't remember it. The careful editing of the portrait required every bit of concentration. So I'm sure that each time I tried, I couldn't keep it up for very long. Tired, I placed a notebook next to my pillow and turned it to lay on my back, and I started to whisper, "I want to meet Matsuda. I want to meet Matsuda. I want to meet Matsuda." It was the only thing I could do right now. Right now, the only thing I can do is whisper deep inside my heart how much I want to meet Matsuda. There is nothing else I can think about. Nothing else I can do. Nothing else I should do. I can't remember anything else after all. Not even my family or my other classmates for me. The people living in the outside world and what they do feels just like watching a boring stage play from the sidelines. Since I can't remember anything that happens, I don't feel like I live in the same world they do. Noisy classrooms, sweat-drenched PE lessons, festive lunchtimes, stopping to grab a bite after club activities. sitting on the ground, chatting with friends, embarrassing conversations with the family. I can't feel envy or regret that I'm missing out on these things. They simply have nothing to do with me, and that's it. But the only existence keeping me from being severely cut off from the world is Matsuda. That's why I can't think of anything else but him. I don't stop for a second to think about anything else. I want to meet Matsuda. I want to meet Matsuda. I want to meet... There's a strange sound, and as I came back to my senses, I rinsed myself from my bed, found the letter shoved under the room's door. It's from Matsuda. It was a logical conclusion to make, so I jumped to grab the envelope and hurried reading the letter inside. Dear Miss Ultimate Pitiful Forgetful Girl, taking all the precious past memories you've so meticulously chronicled. There are a lot of them, and you're filled to the brim with memories of Yatsuke and Matsuda. That's the entire weight of your past right there, isn't it? Isn't it? Am I right? It so is. By the way, if you think I'm lying just to look under your bed, that's where you keep all your memories, but there isn't a single one left. That's because I took them all. Well then, let's get to the main issue. If you want your memories back, come to the fountain in the Central Plaza tonight at 1 a.m. Come alone, of course. But it's not like even if you had anyone to call, is it? That's all. Hope to see you tonight. My body froze as I finished reading the letter. It froze, and yet it also quivered like a plate of jelly. The metaphor might not be very good, but that's just how baffled I was. Blackmail? What's going on? I don't understand. But this was something I couldn't figure out just by asking questions. First, I had to check under the bed like the letter said. I hastily did so, only to find there was nothing there. To tell the truth, I don't remember even storing all notebooks under there, but I really did, and all my past memories of Matsuda were stolen. It's terrible. It meant all I had left was a notebook I currently held in my hand. It's all I have left. Over 15 years on this earth, and just one measly notebook is all I have to show for it. Suddenly a strange feeling descended upon me. Was this what they call a feeling of loss? Full decade of memories that I'm now unable to reach. I'm sure people to learn to live with a small wound still have to endure a certain amount of pain, but that wasn't the case for me. I had no idea how to deal with this new pain I currently felt. For the time being, I was simply angry. Whose idea of a prank is this? My voice strained and shaky as I grasped the letter in my fists, crumbling it. What? Why? Maybe I should just run away. But if this is the work of some sleazeball scheming to get between me and Matsuda's love, it must be because he's so handsome. Some other girl must have seen us together. For girls like that, growing love between us must be an eyesore, so one of them must have taken things into her own hands. That must be it. She took my memories hostage, with intent to stop me. What a coward! My anger reached its boiling point. I was about to erupt like Mount Etna, but it didn't. It seems that I've forgotten how to be properly angry. But that was just so natural. Someone as uninvolved in the world as I am is a stranger to feelings of anger, so I had no idea how to channel it. I guess anger that originates in the imagination alone has its limits. In any case, since I couldn't let my anger out, my feelings rapidly cooled down. I guess I really don't have a choice but to go. Having completely calmed down, I laid down on the bed and waited for 1 a.m., the appointed time. I read the letter over and over so I wouldn't forget what I was waiting for. And then as the time approached... Excuse me. Dang, I keep yawning a lot. Let me drink some water. But this won't turn into a fight, right? It's gonna be okay, isn't it? Harboring these depressing thoughts, I left my room. It was Central Plaza, right? I walked down the pavement with heavy steps, checking the map in Ryoko Tanashi's memory notebook. This was a world at night. A world where everyone was asleep. In the middle of it all, it was the only person walking about. There were no signs of other human beings anywhere. It was a definite atmosphere of loneliness. But I didn't want to think any more about that. To be honest, the thought of just going back to my room crossed my mind several times, but I had a feeling that if I did, I would never see those stolen memories again, and so my feet reluctantly pushed me forward. After walking for a short while, an iron fence came into view. Set up to completely block the pathway I walked along. According to my notebook, entry to the Central Plaza was forbidden between 10 p.m. and 7 a.m. That's probably why this fence was here. In other words, if I couldn't overcome this fence, I wouldn't be able to reach my destination. This time around, I thought more seriously about going back, but at the last moment made a firm resolution and started climbing the fence. Somehow, I made my way over and managed to land on the lawn on the other side. I started walking around the central plaza looking for the fountain I was directed to go to. The darkness deepened, probably because the area was so thick with trees. The same trees that must have a brilliant sparkling green and light of the snow now painted the plaza pitch black, blocking out sight from any stars. I walked around in darkness for a while until my field of vision suddenly grew wider. In front of me there was a small square. In its center stood a couple of street lamps, gently illuminating their surroundings. Among them was a fountain I was looking for, with the water producing a gentle splashing sound. As soon as my consciousness understood that, I reached my destination. My nervousness increased. I stepped slowly toward the fountain with excessive caution, but after a few steps I stopped in my tracks. From there I could see someone standing on the other side of the fountain. With the shadows of trees I could only see the upper half of their bodies. But regardless, it was pretty clear I was looking at a man's back. Excuse me. I spoke with a loud voice, but there was no answer. Guess I should just go a little bit closer. The lawn gave gently beneath my feet. Despite my attempts, the man didn't make any sign he had heard me whatsoever. I slowly continued forward and raised my voice again. Excuse me, was it you who called me here? Once again, there was no answer. He couldn't have possibly not heard me. The body grew heavy, and a growing sense of dread weighed down both my shoulders. In no time, my tight-fisted hands were covered in sweat. Nevertheless, the lure of mystery pushed me forward. The contours of a faint figure in front of me gradually became clear. The man was wearing a suit. His hair was light gray, and his neck was covered with countless deep wrinkles. Suddenly, a gust of wind came blowing by, and he swayed to and fro, back and forth. The man's figure continued swaying feebly in the wind. I felt cold shivers all over my body, as though someone touched the back of my neck with an icy hand. I faintly heard my inner voice yelling at me to stop, but my feet moved of their own accord as I approached and looked at his face. His eyes met mine. His wide, bloodshot red eyes bulging out of their sockets met mine. His face was pale and red. Dark blood vessels made an eerie pattern. A tongue that looked like a rotting sea slug lolled out of his mouth, nearly reaching his neck. And he was not standing on the ground. He was hanging by the rope around his neck that slowly swayed him wind to the wind, to and fro, back and forth. Just standing there, my entire body went cold. I know I shouldn't be writing such a thing in my notebook, but this isn't the time. I should run away. There's nothing to do with me. Drip, drip. Instead, my eyes dropped to the source of a strange sound. Small drops fell from the man's toes, gathering in a puddle beneath. For some reason, in the middle of the puddle was a notebook. The moment I saw it, I felt an intense current run through my body and into my brain. 4 words were written on the cover. The letters were smudged, but it's still clear enough to read. Ryoko Otanashi's Memory Notebook. End of chapter 5. Oh my god. I did not see that coming, man. That was sudden. that was pretty sudden. Pretty sudden. Hey Mark, how you doing? The Wile E. Coyote reference was crazy. Yeah, it also means it's canon. I do love your artwork. Good job. that kind of shook me when I saw it. Good job, Trash. You're killing it. Good job. Trash and Mana, y'all are killing it right now. Y'all are doing overtime for sure. Good job. I love the creativity. Yeah, now it's officially a horror story. Oh man. Is it technically Trash? That's funny. You're welcome, Trash. You're welcome. Good job. Good improvisation on the spot. Oh man. But yeah, welcome Mark to the reading stream. I mean the storytelling stream. I let me catch you up on the ground rules. I only read chat every time in between chapters, just so you know. So I'll be reading chat in between chapters, but while I'm reading, I don't look at chat. That is the limitations of my technology. Just letting you know. Interesting. I'm interested. Got me on my toes. All right, let's hop into the next chapter. Oh, you have a question? All right, let's see. What do you think her talent is? The ultimate forgetful. The ultimate forgetful person. She goes to Hope Peak for a reason. It's probably the ultimate amnesiac or something. Something along about forgetting. Something along those lines is what I'm guessing. Something about being the ultimate forgetful person. The ultimate fumbler. That's pretty good, Mark. Oh man. But yeah, that's something along those lines. Or maybe they made her forget her talent. That's another theory I've been thinking, you know? Maybe she actually had like some really cool talent, but she forgot what it was, you know? Or the experiments made her forget. That's true. That's exactly why I think that, Azrael. Because they wanted to kick her out for her bad memory. So there's something else. There has to be something else for sure. I don't think she was always like this. Otherwise, she never would have made it into Hope's Peak. I feel like they either made her like this or something. I want to know what it is. Something to keep in mind. Exactly. No worries, Mark. The VOD will be up later if you want to look back at it and kind of catch up. Water, toes, and then 5 ads. I apologize for that. I'm so sorry. It be like that. I'm sorry. All right, next chapter. Next meme. Next chapter. Chapter 6. Before I knew it, I found myself running, tears and snot running down my face, scrawling something in my notebook. But then I quickly forgot why I was even running. I slowed my pace and looked down at the unfinished memory in the notebook. As I did, the just forgotten memory came back to me in an instant. Ah! Screaming, I continued fervently dashing away from the central plaza. I climbed over the iron fence like it was nothing and ran along the pavement until I saw the school dormitory ahead of me. I flew to the dorms at top speed and headed straight into Matsuda's room. At a time like this, the only person I can remember, the only person I can rely on is Matsuda. As I ran through the corridors, flipping through my notebook, in search of Matsuda's room, I recalled another memory that was written down in it. Unless you have a good reason, you're not allowed to visit Matsuda's room at all. But if this wasn't a good reason, then I don't know what is. It was an unprecedented state of emergency, and so I ignored the warning. After flipping through the notebook some more, I finally remember where Matsuda's room is, and managed to reach it before I forgot again. Bang, 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 bang. As soon as I reached the door, I knocked on it with all my strength and screamed, Matsuda, it's an emergency! But no matter how long I waited, the door didn't show any signs it was going to open. Matsuda, come on, Matsuda! I continued my violent, desperate knocking, beginning to lose hope that he would appear. I pounded and yelled. After a while, the door finally opened. Honestly, who is it? But the door that opened was the room next to Matsuda's. Wait, huh? It was strange. There was no one there. The door was open, and I even heard a person's voice, but no one was there. Hey, what's going on? You're being very noisy. Someone's voice echoed quietly in the hall. And even more surprisingly, it was a kid's voice. I looked around once more, but there was nothing still here. Hey, big sis, where are you looking? I'm right here. Where are you? I turned to face the empty hallway and yelled, Show yourself! Once again, I could only hear a voice. I'm not hiding anywhere. I'm right here in front of you. You just haven't noticed me yet. In front of me? Took a deep breath and waited for my pounding heart to calm. Then I properly concentrated on my environment. That's when I saw him. Oh, did you finally notice me? In front of my eyes stood a young boy that looked almost like a cartoon Cupid. Ah, don't feel bad. I was born with a weak sense of presence. No one notices me at first. I'm used to it by now, so don't let it bother you. The boy had a clean voice of someone yet to reach puberty. His face was surprisingly featureless. The kind of face that you draw if you were to doodle a child without using reference. Complete lack of distinguishable features were in a way its own distinguishable feature. So what's wrong? What's wrong about what? Hey, when you're assaulting someone's door in the middle of the night and screaming bloody murder, you can't go asking about what at the time of the night. Even insomniacs would be asleep. He held a paper bag crammed with sweet pastries in his hand, fit for the unending appetite of someone still in growth period. A logo reading Hansel and Gretel was printed on it, presumably the baker's name. He took a pastry out of the bag, crammed it in his mouth, and said, Huh? Can you repeat that? The boy swallowed the pastry he'd been chewing. I said, well, what's wrong? How about you tell me about it? I may be able to help you. As he urged me to share any details, the boy looked me over as if appraising me. His eyes especially lingered on my chest and legs. Before that, I have a question of my own. What's a kid doing? Are you visiting your brother or sister here, or... I'm Yuto Kamashiro, from Hope Speak Academy's 77th class. Pleased to meet you. Huh? I may not look one, but I'm a high school student. What? Don't worry, I already have hair growing in all the right places. Oh, my. Don't act surprised. Anyway, I've introduced myself, so you can at least tell me your name. Sure, I held my notebook to the boy's face, the cover facing toward him. Huh? Well, opined the boy from the other side of the notebook. That's one way to introduce yourself. Ryoko Tanashi. Not a bad name, if I say so myself. My patience practically leveled up from waiting for you to introduce yourself, though. He gave an innocent laugh. Between that and his appearance, I didn't see anything but an elementary school student. Well then, suddenly his expression matured. What kind of trouble have you gotten yourself involved in? His eyes glittered with curiosity. No, rather they glared with curiosity. And not just curiosity alone. They radiated something much more greedy, more calculating, more fanatical. You seem to be in a panic. I can only assume you saw something pretty terrible. Staring at me with an aura that felt at odds with his youthful appearance, he thrust his hand into the paper bag once again, and chose another pastry. Oh, sweet. Ebisu pumpkin melon bread. His face spread into a wide, innocent grin, once more as he happily stuffed the pastry into his mouth. So what is it? What kind of trouble? I wouldn't call it trouble exactly. It's just that I have something I need to discuss with Matsuda, who's in this room over there. Mafufu? I didn't get that. Kamishiro gulped the pastry down. Matsuda's out. Out? Yup, out. What? My sudden cry reverberated through the dorm's empty corridor. No way, he can't be. Sure as hell picked a great time to disappear. You can't yell at... You can yell all you'd like, it's not going to make him suddenly be home. Despite my emotional panic, Kamishiro just calmly continued nibbling on a pastry. His neuroticism is pretty well known among the 77th class. There's no way he wouldn't notice someone knocking that hard on his door. I'm in the next room over, and even I noticed and came out to see what's going on. But if he's not here, then where is he? Maybe he's still in his lab. He pulls all-nighters out there pretty often. Got it, his lab. I turned around and started to run. Hey, wait! But Kamishiro stopped me. Don't tell me you plan to go there now. Did you forget at this time of the night the East District's blocked with an iron fence and security sensors? I don't think you can get in. I can't? In other words, I can't get Matsuda to save me? You've got to be kidding. It's at my wit's end. Oh no, what am I going to do? This is the biggest crisis I've ever had. Why don't you let me help you then? Kamashiro's face made his expression calm. I can't leave a troubled woman with such a cute face such as yourself alone. So what's the situation? Tell me. The situation? Well, it's, what was it again? Seems that while I was at my wit's end, I'd forgotten. Why? What I was at my wit's end for? Wait a moment. I hardly checked my notebook. You really don't have to hide anything. It wasn't actually that serious, and you shouldn't be pounding that door like you did. You're acting like when you find a dead body in Kendachi case files. A dead body. Whereas Kamishiro said those words, I found the same phrase in my notebook. In a second, my spirit was crushed and suffocated, and I stopped breathing. Hey, what's wrong? You look like you saw a ghost, big sis. I was still in shock from the resurrected memory of finding a body, and couldn't breathe. In order to escape from being suffocated, I whispered one sentence to myself. This has nothing to do with me. I repeated it again and again. Nothing to do with me. Nothing to do with me. Nothing to do with me. For me, those words were like a magical enchantment. Each time I whispered them, the words slowed down a little. Truly magical words. That's right. Nothing to do with me. Nothing to do with me. After repeating the words a few more times, I finally managed to calm myself down. As my breath steadied, I began to close my notebook, with my eyes carelessly read over the next written memory. The foot of the dead body was Ryoko Tanashi's memory notebook. In that moment, I screamed louder than ever before. Ah! I forgot! My notebook had been dropped in a small puddle. Even if I convinced myself that this had nothing to do with me, if they found my notebook with my name on it, it would be impossible to convince anyone else. I'd be pulled onto center stage in front of a faceless audience and handed some cruel punishment. This is bad. My heart began violently pounding once more. What do I do? What do I do? What do I do? Everything was breaking down. The world itself was breaking down, crumbling beneath my feet. I had to do something about that notebook before everything completely collapsed. Spurred by that sense of urgency, I took off at full speed. Hey, big sis, wait! A voice called from behind my back. If you're in trouble, please let me help. If you want to help, tell Matsuda to look for me when he comes back. Bye! I yelled without looking back. As I ran through the corridor and out of the rooms, I ran all the way to South District without stopping to catch my breath, and climbed over the iron fence with the same momentum at full speed. I made my way through the pitch-black darkness and into Central Plaza. I ran so fast I didn't even notice my breath was running out. Finally, I reached the fountain once more. I had made it, but... Strange sense of discomfort ran through my body. I strained my eyes, scanning the scene over and over again. Yeah, something strange here. I opened my notebook to check my memories again. The one thing I can't trust is my own brain, so when faced with the discomforting scene, my first thought was to doubt myself, but... Discovering an old man's dead body at the fountain in Central Plaza. That memory's properly written down in my notebook. Affirmed my gut feeling. The cause of my discomfort was the scene in front of my eyes. There was no dead body. That's why. Strange to find a body here, and now it's strange to not find one. Strangeness upon strangeness. That's the very definition of strange. Was he really alive? Was he undead? I didn't understand what was going on, so I scanned my surroundings once more. Something lay at the base of a nearby tree. It was a notebook, the one with Ryoko Otanashi's memories written on the cover. Wait, huh? Why is my notebook here? As I considered the notebook, I approached the notebook to pick it up. Ta-da! Da-da-da! I flinched as I turned. My body trembled. Standing behind me was a girl. So you finally decided to show up! She was striking a daunting pose, her arms folding her chest. She appeared to be around the same age as me. She had flashy makeup on, as though she had just jumped straight off the page of a fashion magazine. Her blonde hair was tied in two sizable pigtails. Her cleavage was spilling out of her partially unbuttoned uniform, and her embarrassing short skirt revealed a pair of long, slender, fair legs. At first, she seemed just like a normal, cute girl, but her eyes alone were a million light years divorced from normal. Those dark eyes were like bottomless swamp, and it almost seemed even darkness of night could easily be swallowed inside them. The moment I saw those eyes, warning signals started flashing violently in my mind. Every fiber in my body screamed at me to run away, but at the same time I was captured by the despair-inducing idea that resistance was futile. In the end, I just stood there transfixed, unable to move. Hey, why are you ignoring me? Are you like a mute character or something? She had a smile on her face, but it was a wicked smile of the all-powerful, the kind flash at the helpless and weak. Aha, I get it. She suddenly raised her voice and thrust her index finger straight in my forehead. I know what you're thinking. I know what you've been thinking ever since you saw me with my arms crossed. You've been thinking, I really never cross my arms like that anymore, but it's not my fault. Some girls' boobs are just big to do that. So rude. Women who brag about boobs is nothing more than a shitty fantasy born out of a trash game, an anime, and late night TV. Ugh, gross. Totally gross. Do you even know what kind of guys are obsessed with boobs? I'll tell you. You know those girls who'd considered a hot commodity in the hometown, and they go out to the big city and they're not popular anymore, so they end up taking off their clothes for anyone who gives them the time of day. It's the guys who just see an airhead girl with a good ass whose virginity they can just take without much work. Those are the ones who are so obsessed with boobs. Changing the subject for a second, aren't virgins the worst? If it wasn't for the virgin megastores, there would be nothing good about the world at all. Even then, most of them got closed down, yet still a million times better than actual virgins. And what was I talking about? Oh, that's right. The fact that such a big business had to close is... Hey, wait a second. Ow. Offended that I tried to cut her off in the middle of her rant, she pressed her index finger into my forehead, making me stop. Wait, now I remember. We were talking about obsession with boobs. I hate being pushy, but you should really drop the boob obsession of yours. Drop a shit obsession, if you prefer in France. I mean, if you don't drop it, you're going to be in trouble when you're older. Don't you get it? They're large and they're more than they'll sag. Or maybe they're one of those people who end up winning against the forces of gravity. Can you defy gravity? Is Magneto going to scout you out? I mean, I guess it's possible, but he's... Please stop for a sec. I tried to stop her by being more insistent, but this time she shoved her fingers straight into my mouth, rendering me ineffective once more. Ferienzo, por favor. Wait, that's not it. What's that thing you say when you want someone to be quiet? Well, whatever. In any case, shut up and stop interrupting me. I really love talking, You shouldn't act like a good mute girl and just stay silent. It's my turn now. I don't understand a thing you're saying. Saliva started to flow in my mouth, running through her fingers and dropping into a thin thread on the ground. You don't seem to mind at all. By the way, what's your name, you girl? Hey. She tilted her head, looking displeased. Don't mumble. Say your name properly. If you don't answer in the next 3 seconds, I'm going to follow the 3-second rule and rip your tongue out. She hadn't even finished talking when she grabbed my tongue with her fingers. They dug, gripping like a vice. Okay, 1. She started a countdown. Wait, this isn't a joke. Every pore in my body suddenly opened, making me sweat profusely. Wait, I can't talk if she's holding my tongue. 2. Suddenly, I remembered the notebook I held in my hand. I thrust it out in front of her empathetically. Ryoko Tanashi, huh? That's too bad. Her mouth curled into a wide demonic smile as she laughed. I told you to say your name, didn't I? I never said anything about showing it to me. Well, if it's been 3 seconds... Well, it's been 3 seconds, so I'll be taking your tongue now. With every bit of strength, I resisted, but her nails cruelly wedged in their way into my tongue. The iron-like taste of blood mixed with my saliva. As it filled my mouth, the will to fight rapidly drained from my body. Her eyes stared blankly into my own, were overflowing with dark despair that seemed to squeeze what hope I had left straight out of me. At that moment, I finally came to accept that resistance was useless. The last of my strength left my body, and my notebook slipped away from my hand. Let my body relax and abandon hope. Suddenly, I heard a laughing voice. With an ecstatic expression on her face. Her cheeks flushed red as she laughed a bizarre, mad, overwhelming laugh. When the merciless roar of laughter came to a stop, she finally removed her fingers from my mouth. I coughed madly, spit mixed with blood dripping from my mouth. I was totally joking. Come on now. Who'd ever want your tongue anyway? What do you think I am, some kind of savage? I bet you're wondering, why did I do something like that, huh? I honestly wanted to see that face of yours filled with despair, you see. For me, that's the best kind of introduction you can give. By the way, I haven't introduced myself yet, have I? A bit surprised, I finally stood upright. Bad feelings slowly overwhelmed me. My intuition was telling me to stay far away from this girl. But she didn't stop, instead, and proudly announced her name. My name is Tengucho Lapta. Tengujo Lapit. Not really, I'm just joking. Is this really the time for jokes? I know what you're thinking. Is it really time for jokes, right? Like she could read my mind. Jokes are great, aren't they? It was It was Ito Hirobumi who said, only a man whose sense of humor can live in a world without growing men, you know? That was a lie. Hirobumi never said that. I had no idea how to reply. So I just waited for... I had no idea for how to reply. So I just waited for her to finally tell me her name. For real this time. My name is Junko Inoshima. I go by the title of the ultimate fashionista. Sometimes I'm a charismatic fashion model with an adoring sense. At other times, I'm a charismatic... Oh, that's still a secret. Sorry. As she announced herself, she basked in the glow of street lamps like an actress in the spotlight. Junko Inoshima. Though I couldn't read her thoughts, my own brain understood that I shouldn't get involved with her. My body began acting on its own without realizing it. I picked up my notebook and wrote her name on it. Oh, and what's that you're doing? Inoshima asked with a curious look on her face. This is... I hesitated, unable to think of a good enough answer. Come on, don't tell me you're going to turn into a mute girl and keep it a secret. She puffed her cheeks as if she were a little girl trying to show her frustration. I couldn't help but admire how effortlessly her face moved from one expression to the next. Mute characters have grown out of fashion, you know. Besides, humans have such good conversation skills. So not using them is kind of a waste, don't you think? This isn't a conversation, though. Everything you're saying is too cryptic for... You should address me by my proper name. Haven't I just introduced myself? She chided me in a flat, threatening tone. Miss Inoshima, I haven't understood anything you've been saying. Miss? Stop being so formal. I really hate that kind of thing. But I just met you a few minutes ago. I shouldn't be rude. Which makes us complete strangers. You're totally wrong. I mean, we're pen pals, aren't we? Pen pals? You read my letter, didn't you? Isn't that why you're here? A letter? What letter was she talking about? I quickly checked my notebook and quickly remembered. And then as soon as I did, I raised my voice in surprise. So it was you? That's right. I'm the beautiful kidnapper who took your memories hostage. But why? Hey, you can't keep asking questions. Think for yourself. So I guess you really wanted to keep me and Matsuda? That had nothing to do with it. I've tried my best to think of a reason, yet she rejected it in one swift and threatening motion. Well, whatever. I just don't feel like telling you yet. As she was speaking, Inoshima picked up the notebook that was still lying beneath the nearby tree, ignoring the wet cover and stuffing it into her cleavage. It's too bad, but I'm keeping it for a little longer. I can't let you take it from the crime scene. Hey. Shima's eyes suddenly widened in surprise. Huh? She turned her head to look around, calling out as she were mad. It's gone. What's gone? I asked timidly, confused by her sudden change. It's gone. Isn't it weird? There's nothing here. Why? She paced around the circumference of the trees, repeating her cries like a broken record. So tell me what's gone. I pressed again in a stronger tone of voice. She finally turned back toward me. Her face was utterly expressionless. Then she replied in a light monotone voice, speaking as though it were something trivial like a dropped coin. The dead body. The body that was dead. The body that had died. That was here isn't here anymore. Huh? Oh, have you forgotten already? Honestly, even forgetfulness should have its limits. You saw that body yourself, didn't you? A new question came into my head. Wait, how did you know I'm forgetful? Have I told you? That doesn't matter. Anyway, there's no mistake. There was definitely a body here before. Inoshima raised her voice, brushing my question aside. You've got to believe me, there was a body here earlier. I should know, I killed him myself. Huh? My body suddenly went rigid. I mean, I came up behind him and just hung him with my own 2 hands, you know? Actually, wet his pants a little. Honestly, old men like him should be wearing diapers just in case if they did. It'd be way more of a relief for me. Huh? I felt as if a spell of confusion had been cast on me. And Inoshima, on the other hand, went on gesticulating enthusiastically as she spoke. It's a little embarrassing, but some of it got on my skirt. I had to go to the bathroom and wash it off, but while I was gone, the dead body seems to have totally disappeared. Just slipped away. Well, it's my fault, really, getting so surprised from a little piss like that, but anyway, that notebook I picked up just now was covered in piss. Huh? I mean, I worked so hard so I could make an example out of him. Seriously, who did that? Huh? Hey, you've been doing that for a while. Are you trying to be like those ditzy characters that are always so popular? Huh? Or maybe you're just an idiot. It was useless. Thoughts I couldn't even form into words ran inside my head, causing a terrible grating headache. I didn't understand anything she said or did. She just admitted to killing someone, right? Why would someone say that to someone she just met? Oh, are you wondering why I'd confess to someone I've just met? She hit the bullseye once more. That should be obvious. You're gonna help me. Huh? A vague yet extraordinarily anxiety unfolded over my entire body. Me? Help you? Wait a second. I can't get involved in something like that. Huh? I said I can't get involved in something like that. Huh? I said, stop stressing out so much. You're ruining your ditzy character archetype. That's not it. In that case, let me ask you a question. So you're making instant ramen. You put boiling water in it and wait 3 minutes, right? But if something comes out and asks you, how's it been 3 minutes? How are you going to answer? You can't answer that, can you? My thoughts reach a state of unprecedented turmoil. What are you talking about? Don't change the... I'm not changing the subject. It's just the same. Inoshima countered with a strong tone of voice. I've decided you're going to do what I tell you to. That's just how things are. No further explanation. Although I'm proud of it, but I always get too impatient and give up before the 3 minutes. People think I have a hard time making noodles, but it's actually nowhere near that complicated. Well, how do you get it now? My cognition clattered and collapsed, and the inside of my brain turned completely to rubble. All there was left was a large number of question marks. I didn't understand her at all. That was only one and only thing I knew for sure. Honestly, it's easier to perform superhuman... Honestly, it's easier to perform superhuman feats of making it to the Olympics than it is to understand others perfectly. I know that, but either way, it's extraordinary. I knew from the beginning that I shouldn't get involved with her, but it's probably not too late yet. That's right, I should run away. Having finally arrived at such a simple answer, I promptly backed away from her, kicked power off the ground and set dashing away from danger. And almost immediately, I found myself colliding head-on with Inoshima. What the? I fell down, landing on my behind with such force over my entire body. Went numb, aside from the immediate pain. When I looked up, Inoshima stood on the path, blocking my way. I never even saw her move, and yet somehow appeared behind me before I even started running. Teleportation? I prefer Shuki Jutsu. I kind of like the pop culture vibe, you know? My entire being felt beaten and bruised. No matter what I did, I wouldn't be able to escape her. I might have convinced myself that this has nothing to do with me, but she wouldn't allow such a thought. I think you misunderstand the situation, don't you think? Ishima crouched down and peered into my exhausted eyes. Alarms went off everywhere inside my head. I mustn't look her in the eyes. Nevertheless, I couldn't avert my gaze. It's like I told you. It doesn't matter if you want it or not. What matters is what Junko Inoshima wants. That's all. That's why I'm even thinking about running away from Junko Inishima's stupid. The whole world is Junko Inishima's playground, and everyone in it is just living on borrowed time. I don't just mean like, what's yours is mine. I mean like, you yourself are mine. This whole planet is Junko Inishima's plaything. What? Is the most extraordinarily egotistical doctrine. The kind that causes you to feel sick. If she really meant all that, then I have to resent my own lack of luck for running into her. Well, whatever. Getting back on topic, the dead body. She bounced upright and shifted her weight to the other leg. She directed a new question at me. By the way, do you know what Hope's Peak Academy Steering Committee is? Hope's Peak Academy Steering Committee? Just to make sure, I checked my notebook, but I couldn't find any mention of that phrase anywhere. Seemed I honestly knew nothing about it. But if she's suddenly mentioning it, then... Seems like you haven't. Wrong sense. Do-over. Looks like you haven't. And she must spread her hands in a grandiose manner if she were a host of a game show. Ding ding, that's right. The dead body that should have been there was a member of the steering committee. Those guys have way more power than teaching staff and the headmasters. That means they're practically in charge of the place. Doesn't that get you excited? Clearly, the only one growing excited. Inoshima continued. But there's no need to grieve. I mean, him getting killed there is just the way things are meant to be. Yep, it was all decided since the very beginning. That's why no matter how much they try to hide the little incident, it's pointless. Incident? I asked without thinking. It was my gut response. I can only chalk up to thoughtfulness. The moment it came out of my mouth, I was bewildered by the fact I even asked it. Oh my. Oh, no way. You're interested in it? I can't blame you. One can only listen to such a vague name like the incident so many times before curiosity takes over, right? With that, Inashima struck a pose, her hands on her hips, her chest puffed high, and declared loudly, "The tragedy of Hope's Peak Academy! That's the incident I was talking about!" The moment I heard those words, a strange heat filled my head. What? A tingling sensation paralyzed my consciousness entirely. At the same time, as though manipulated by a puppeteer, I absent-mindedly wrote those words in my notebook. The tragedy of Hope's Peak Academy. Yup, write down everything you hear. That's a good girl. Inashima laughed in satisfaction as she watched. You know, you'd make a great temp since you always have to write down all the crap they tell you on the first day. But if someone tries to order me to do something like that, I'd send them straight to hell. I'm not even kidding. Straight to hell. First, I'd destroy their family, then their friends and acquaintances, and then when they're fully immersed in despair, I'll wait until they come beg to me to kill them. By the way, who are you? I looked up from my notebook in surprise and saw that scowl on her face had grown considerably. Her scathing eyes cut through me, looked towards something behind my back. I turned around, glancing behind myself. Saw nothing but deep black trees in the night's darkness. Despite my seeing no one, Inashima faced the darkness and asked again in an annoyed voice, "Hey, I asked who you are. Aren't you listening?" Suddenly, I saw something in my peripheral vision. A moment later, something emerged from the dense foliage. The jet black scenery was a white mask. No, it was a human face, as pale as though it were covered in white paint. Ah, you found me, hmm? Along with the voice, a man's silhouette became apparent with the darkness. He had a long, slender body, much like a snake, stretching upward, clad in a black school uniform. Pitch black hair matched it, running down past his shoulders. Black upon black, the white face peeking from the inky blackness. It had a small, thin lizard eyes carved into it. My name is Ishikimadara. As he spoke, I could hardly see his mouth move. Is that so? That's nice and all, but that's such a lame name. Junko Nishima's 10 times billing cooler. I took a sidelong glance at Nishima, who was roaring back at him from behind me. She didn't seem much affected by the situation, and flashed her regular, unnerved, overconfident smile. That is indeed troubling. I have much pride in my name. Although that is not the only thing troubling me at the present. Oh, and what's that? I was hoping to talk to you when you were alone, but, well, if it's come to this, I guess I have no choice. Muttering beneath his breath, Maru withdrew what seemed to be a photograph from his pocket. His lizard eyes slid back and forth between us and the photo. I see, so you're Junko Inoshima. And what is your business with Junko Inoshima? She answered without even blinking. I have heard a certain rumor. What is it about Junko Inoshima is transcendently hopeless, beautiful, with no equal? That may be the case, but no. Madara paused for a moment and then continued in a drastically different tone of voice. Was Junko Inoshima not involved in the incident? And that's what you want to talk about? I'm sorry, no can do. Inoshima wasn't unnerved in the least, nor did she lose her carefree smile. That's not something a small fry like you has any right to talk about. Know your place. Grab some water. Damn, water's good. I thought you'd say that. Well, I guess I won't get what I want that easily. And what are you going to do about it? Let me guess, you have ways of making me talk. Kind of old-fashioned, isn't it? That sort of crap only happens in straight-to-video action movies. It may be old-fashioned, but I should tell you I'm not the type to go easy on you just because you're a woman. Don't expect me to play nice. Madara's corrosive glare shot through us. Inoshima and Madara glared at each other in a way that almost made the ground itself shake. That has nothing to do with me, right? This is an issue between the boy who called himself Ishiki Madarai and the girl who calls herself Junko Inoshima. I'm not involved at all, so it's okay for my body to stop shaking with fear right now because... Well, then I hope you two are prepared because... Wait a second. I raised my trembling voice. Both Inishima and Madurai turned their eyes toward me at the same time. It's strange that you said you two just now, right? After all, you only have business with... I can't have one of you running away now, can I? Anyone involved with Junko Nishima is likely to have something to do with the incident themselves, said Madurai, licking his lips. You've only yourself to blame for getting involved with her. I've been hearing nothing but complaints about this girl, and yet I've come prepared for one, and now I have to deal with two. That's twice the labor, but you don't see me complaining. So why don't you just keep it to yourself? What? There was some messed up reasoning. No, it wasn't even close to being reasoning at all. It was just overwhelmingly egotistical. But still not as egotistical as she was, I suppose. I get it. You definitely got that can-do attitude. But you see, this girl here has a can-kill attitude, said Nishima, stroking my head. Wait, what girl's she talking about? Hey, now's not the time to get all ditzy again. I'll see you later. Huh? See who when? Your face looks like a fur seal. That's hilarious. But now's not the time for that. Go ahead and fight him already. That's your role here, you know. Did she say fight him? What are you talking about? I screamed, brushing her hands off the top of my head as I flailed my arms. Oh, it's fine. You're the girl who can do anything when you want. You can even kill when you want, you know? Hey, now, don't speak with such twisted words. Talking about killing, that's not something healthy high school girls should talk about. Mada's face became distorted with a wry smile. Oh, you're not a fan of mutual killing, Inishima scoffed? You're not prepared at all. I'm a little disappointed. It's only natural. What are you using? Oh, hold on. It's only natural. What use are you to me dead? I still have so many stories to hear. At the very least, I'll try to keep your mouths working. Oh, that was Madurai. Sorry. It's only natural. What use are you to me dead? I still have many stories to hear. At the very least, I'll keep your mouths working. Madurai narrowed his lizard eyes even more and repeated himself, emphasizing his words. But just the mouth. Then his slender body stood still and swayed like the flame of a candle, slowly moving towards us. Huh, I guess he really is eager. Of course I am. I've been waiting for this moment ever since the incident. Madurai held a tightly gripped fist to his chest. It was rugged and coarse, not matching his snake-like body at all. I felt as though being hit with a fist would cave my face in, just like a comic book character. What do we do? What do I do? My eyes filled with tears as I turned to look at the girl behind me. Should have known. Can't really be helped, Inishima muttered in a low, stiff voice. Then she suddenly shifted back to her loud, unusually empathetic voice. You're up! Wait! Don't worry. You're gonna be just fine. Inishima pulled me into a hug from behind. I'm gonna help you, of course. But have you display the full extent of your talent in no time? Huh? Talent? My talent? Hey, when you're in trouble, shouldn't you be looking in your notebook? Yeah. Turned my eyes to my notebook, following Inishima's urges, and then whoosh, crack, bang, boom, thump, that, bum, bam, bam, bam. Sounds that would be perfectly at home in an anime echoed around me. Reflectively, I looked up, back, and what? Inoshima, who was just behind me a second ago, was now a few meters ahead, exchanging violent blows in a fierce battle with Madurai. Kapow, wham, bang, bang, bang. Madurai used his long limbs, like whips as he attacked. His opponent, the fashionista Inishima, didn't pull back in the slightest despite her femininity. What the heck did all this come from? Hey, don't just stand there like a shocked pig, Inishima yelled at me, while swinging around her leg, as though she were a professional gymnast. Get riding. Right then, she delivered a perfect kick, sending Madurai down into the lawn with a short grunt. Instantly, he turned his long body like a spinning top and recovered from the fall, before returning with a kick of his own, almost as though he were breakdancing. That's exactly how I imagined it. Whoops! Inoshima dodged with a jump in the air. Madurai took advantage of the opening to rise up. Without waiting a single second, he delivered a straight right. Even though he seemed too far to strike to hit, His bizarrely long arms seemed to ignore the distance. Even so, Inashima blocked and reversed his momentum before thrusting the tip of her right foot directly into his abdomen. Ugh! A groan spilled from Madarai's mouth, and the two finally stopped moving. Oh, I won! So that was Crescent Moon Kick. I've been wanting to try it ever since I saw it in a magazine. Staying a slight distance from the buckled over Madarai, Inashima continued to boast while grinning broadly. In any case, what even caused the schoolyard fight to begin? Am I just forgetting again, or was it really just completely out of nope? Hey, I told you to stop standing there like an idiot. I was still frozen in place, and Inashima's irritated voice washed over me. Hurry up and fill in the notebook. Why do you think I'm over here busting my... In a split second, her expression shifted. A high kick as swift as a whip came from behind, sending her thin body flying like a scrap of paper. I cried instinctively in alarm, turning my gaze to where her body came to a halt. That was kind of risky. Inashima brought herself up from her kneeling position, as though nothing had happened at all. There was no visible damage except for a red mark on her left arm, where she might have tried to guard against Madarai's kick. Apparently, I wasn't the only one who thought such a blow should have broken her thin arms. I could see the frustration in Madarai's scowl. Scared because I'm so strong? Starting to doubt yourself? That's right. I'm the ultimate fashionista and human weapon. Wasn't lost in over 300 fights. She struck a victorious pose. Shut up. Brushing away... Oh, shut up. Brushing her words away in anger, Madurai immediately rushed at her once more. Soon the battle resumed in full force, with both hands using their whole bodies. Right hand, right foot, left hand, left foot, rapidly alternating, offense to defense, in a hectic exchange of blows. I simply stood watching, unable to move any part of my body but my hand, which was scrawling everything down earnestly in my notebook. Come on! Inashima let out a series of exaggerated kicks as if in response to the one that sent her flying before. But Madurai just twisted his mouth into a grin. He carefully avoided the kicks and then, with perfect timing, lowered his posture and sprang into a tackle. His long hand stretched forward, trying to take a hold of her waist. And with that blinding speed, Inashima's knee sprang up, aiming directly for Madurai's jaw. Madurai managed to turn away from his target at the last second, avoiding Inashima's knee by a mere millimeters. Regardless, he lost his balance and thrust his hands toward the ground in an attempt to stabilize himself, leaving the right half of his body open. With an exaggerated "Hi-ya!" "Hi-ya!" Inashima delivered a spinning kick with Madurai hastily attempted to guard, and failed. The intense blow struck Madurai's right temple, and with a dry sound, his slender body slid down the lawn. I totally win. Honestly, I haven't had a dance like that in ages. Inashima laughed loudly. I guess he wasn't all bark and no bite. He should try going back and learning the basics. You gotta crawl before you can walk. She continued to cackle, then took out a hand mirror from inside her pocket and started resetting her messy hair. Surprisingly, despite the fierce battle she had just taken part in, her breath was entirely calm. I rushed over to her side and started cheering. You did it! Thank God! For a second I was really worried. Inashima's expression changed in an instant. Huh? She gave me a look of utter disgust. Were you even paying attention? You don't think this is settled yet, do you? I mean, that would be an Armageddon-level misunderstanding. What? In the corner of my eye, I caught a shape slowly rising up from the ground. It was Madurai. How? Isn't it obvious? The kick should have sent him flying as far as he did. He just did the same thing as before. He threw himself back at the same time to reduce injury. Well, I guess I was going too easy on him to begin with. Screech! The unpleasant sound of metal scraping metal hit my ears. It seemed to come from Madurai, whose teeth were grinding together hard enough that I almost expected it to cause sparks. He's mad, isn't he? I think he's mad. My attention was fixed on Madurai as I turned my nervous voice toward Nishima, who stood hidden behind me. It's fine. It's possible for you to be taken down by someone on his level. Probably. At least try to sound convincing, I cried, glancing quickly down at my notebook. Never take your eyes off, Inashima commanded with a sharp voice. Never take your eyes off the prey. That's the basic of the basics. Prey? But I'm the one who's a prey, aren't I? Madurai kept grinding his teeth as he slowly advanced towards us, arms outstretched. I was shaking in fear like a frightened rabbit in front of a bloodthirsty, poisonous serpent. There was nothing I could do but turn to rely on Inashima once more. Sorry. Sorry. What? Madurai suddenly opened his eyes in surprise. When did she what? A bad feeling loomed over my entire body, and I turned in fear to look behind me. What did she call it again? I looked back at my notebook to remind myself. Right. Shukuji Jutsu, huh? There was no one behind me anymore. Junko Nishima's figure, shape, and shadow had entirely disappeared. Seems you've been abandoned. I heard the voice call from behind me. I slowly turned back around to find Madurai suddenly standing right before me, looking down with vicious eyes. But there's no need to resent anyone. I shall settle things properly with her later. It's just that the order changed, that's all. Having been handed that sound like a death sentence, I came to realize the fundamental error that occupied my thoughts until this moment. I was an idiot for thinking I could rely on Junko Nishima. But this was no time for complaints. I had to do something. Then as my faltering eyes turned around to my notebook, I heard Madurai's voice from above. Huh? You must be really confident to read a notebook at a time like this. I couldn't even bring my head up again. I couldn't even grasp the content of what I was reading, but I still flipped through the pages. I couldn't find the breakthrough to my solutions, to my problems, but I did my best to come up with an excuse to give me some time. Wait, please. You said you were investigating the tragedy of Hope's Peak Academy, didn't you? In that case, I won't be much help at all. I mean, I know absolutely nothing about that. How did you know about that then? Mother's voice turned to ice and made me shivering hard. Know what? All I said before was that I was looking into the incident. Nevertheless, you seem to know I was talking about the tragedy of Hope's Peak Academy. I looked up. The sharpness in Mother's eyes seemed to grow tenfold. My first thought was to escape the piercing gaze, so I looked down at my notebook again. You see, I just heard that name recently by accident. I didn't know it was an actual thing. Few people here know the name given to the incident. Very few. The fact that you hit the name with so little hesitation means you really are suspicious. Guess I hit the jackpot. Didn't even need to look anymore to see the cruel twisting smile in his snake-like eyes. The shiver ran down my spine and my arms and leg went stiff. I was completely paralyzed. It's over. I can't say for sure, of course, but this was probably the first time in my life that I was fully conscious of my own mortality. My mind went completely blank. And Matsuda, I really do love him. But of course the memories don't come pouring in like scenes on a rotating lamp. What I remember are the feelings after all. So I whispered his name again and again inside my heart and tried to remember. Matsuda, Matsuda, Matsuda. Huh? Let's try that again. Matsuda, Matsuda. Huh? It's strange. I don't feel any better. I can't remember. Suddenly my entire body felt like static. I was assaulted with an unprecedented sense of fear and loneliness when I realized I couldn't remember Matsuda. Is this what loss feels like? It's what a hellish feeling like I've never felt before. A terrible feeling as if my body were being torn apart and eaten by 1,000 demons. What is it? Your face is terribly pale. Huh? The second I looked up at Madurai, I understood what was happening. The fear cast over me by that man stood before me had taken control over all my emotions. That's why I couldn't remember my feelings for Matsuda. You really look like someone's about to attack you. He cackled at his own awful joke. Matsuda. Matsuda. Even swallowed by dread, I continued whispering his name inside my heart. I whispered desperately over and over, trying to keep any semblance of fear from showing my face. Matsuda's name had become a prayer. I want to see Matsuda. I want to hear Matsuda's voice. I want to smell Matsuda's scent. I want to touch Matsuda. I want to meet Matsuda. I want to meet Matsuda. I want to meet Matsuda. Suddenly something changed. My heart leapt and began to beat loudly, and the blood pumped through my body at breakneck speed. A sudden sense of warmth melted the fear that was keeping my body frozen. I want to meet Matsuda. I repeated the mantra several more times and completely forgot fear that was controlling my feelings. I want to meet Matsuda. I want to meet Matsuda. I want to meet Matsuda? Madurai quickly perceived the sudden change and put some distance between us immediately. Despite his looks, he was a cautious man, and somehow I had regained my composure enough to make that observation. Keeping collected, I turned back to read my notebook once again from the beginning. My eyes stopped at the very first page. There was no explanation regarding my talent there. Strange that I never noticed it until now. Must be the power of love Matsuda granted me. I'm going to meet Matsuda. I'm going to meet Matsuda. It was no longer just my heart's desire. It was my entire purpose, reigniting a flame within me. You move now, I declared to Madurai, raising my head from the notebook. I'm going to meet Matsuda. Who the hell is that? Never mind, what made you liven up so fast? Love, of course. I cried in triumph with the slightest bit of shame. The power of my love for Matsuda. I agree that love is not something to be trifled with. It drives people to do insane things at stupid times. But even so, you're making no sense. In any case, don't stand in my way. I scowled fiercely at Madurai. Or maybe you're just desperate now. That would be a bother. You can never know what desperate people are going to do. It doesn't matter if they're weak or strong. It's always a bother. Shut up and move already. You're truly a strange woman. He leaned slightly forward and crouched into a low posture. He must have been preparing a counterattack, but that has nothing to do with me. Something like that cannot hope to extinguish the red-hot flame burning inside me. I'm going to meet Matsuda. I'm going to meet Matsuda. I stepped forward, defenseless but determined, my hand still holding the open notebook. In response, Madurai lowered his center of gravity even further and drew a fist back to his waist. He was ready, though it didn't seem like he was willing to make the first move. He was extremely alert. I was right. He really did have a cautious personality, but no, because of that, I stopped mid-stride, loudly asserting myself. Checkmate. Ishiki Madurai. What the hell? That's a rather lame thing to say. It's checkmate. Ishiki Madurai. I couldn't think of anything else to say, so I repeated the same declaration like a wild animal. Able to pounce, I slowly lowered my center of gravity, much like Madurai had. I concentrated my entire body strength on 2 legs, and as soon as I had it all accumulated, I released it all at once. I kicked the ground violently with every bit of stored energy I had, and began running with excessive force in the other direction away from Madurai, who was still on alert. Hey! I heard Madurai's bewildered voice far behind me. Seemed he was fully unprepared for something like this. As my feet carried me, I opened my notebook again and checked the first page that explained my talent. One more time. That's right, this is my talent. My one and only way to come out of the situation winning. I don't remember it though, so it doesn't feel quite real. After a short while, I could hear footsteps not far behind me, chasing me. In that moment, I decided to put my predictions to the test. With the man chasing me thinking right now, I'm pretty sure he's thinking something else, like, I don't get this girl at all. And that is the end of chapter 6. Oh man, that was a pretty good chapter, honestly. he's pretty creepy, yeah. Oh man, very long chapter. That is a very long chapter, yeah. For sure, that was a real long chapter, a real big one. But it was an interesting fight scene. That was pretty interesting, pretty intriguing. Once again, good job on the mods. They're crushing it right now. They're absolutely crushing it. Good job, mods. All right. If only we had more time. If only, yeah. I'm sorry once again for making this a little last second. But maybe we can do better for... maybe we'll have more time for the next one. I think we'll continue reading on Tuesday of next week. We'll continue. For the next stream, we have more time for the next stream, so we'll do something more for the next stream. We'll have more time for next stream, so I believe the next time we'll be reading this will be Monday, or no, not Monday. Tuesday, next Tuesday. Just because I want to make sure all the mods are available for this, just because it is a very much all hands on deck type of project. So next one will be Tuesday. Next reading will be Tuesday of next week. what we'll be doing this Thursday, I'll figure something out. I actually do have a plan of what I want to do this Tuesday. But I'm looking forward to it. This is pretty fun. This is a really fun book. I'm really loving it. So I can't wait to get through more of it with you guys. But thank you so much for watching, everybody. I'll have to end stream here for today. That was a really long chapter, but it's already time to end stream, unfortunately. But I will see you all on the next stream. I'll see you all on Thursday. Bye, guys. Take care. Oh, I predict both light novels will take 10 hours to read. So we got like 7 hours of book left. Oh, okay. So that'd be like, give or take like 4 streams. Give or take. In total, like 4 streams to finish reading. So yeah. Pretty much, yeah, about. I'd say about. Anyway, I'll see you all later. Thanks again for dropping by. Thanks again to the mods. Make sure you say thank you to the mods. They've done so much hard work. They work so hard. Thank you, mods. Trash Mana, absolutely killing it. Good job. Loving it. And thank you all for coming. I'll see y'all later. Bye-bye.